Hello, everybody, and welcome to Time Capsule here on the Games Done Quick Hotfix. It is the show where we travel back in time to your favorite years in gaming and showcase awesome speedruns of games released in the same year. I am your host, Smooth Operative. You thought we were finished with 2006 last episode, but guess what? I'm here to tell you that the train is still going, and tonight we have speedruns of Mortal Kombat Armageddon and later the faithful reimagining of Sonic the Hedgehog Project 06. But of course, before we begin, let's cover those announcements, shall we? First off, the GDQ all-women speedrunning community, Flame Fatales, is coming together once again for the summer Flame Fatales Marathon benefiting Malala Fund, and this event will run from August 13th through the 20th, and the schedule drops July 6th. So check out gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for more information on that. And also, Games Done Quick is hiring. So if you have experience in website design and development, would like to help us revamp the website, or if you have experience in social media creation and would like to assist us at our live events, you can head on over to gamesdonquick.com/jobs to apply. Now then, my friends, it is the 4th of July here in the USA, and what better way to celebrate than with a speedrun of Mortal Kombat Armageddon? Am I right? So please welcome our first runner, Rubber Ducky Assassin.
Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are ready for some extreme violence because that's what this game has to offer. I'm Rubber Ducky Assassin. You can call me RDA or Rubber Ducky or whatever you want to call me, really. With me, I got a friend of mine.
Hello, I'm CMM1215. You can call me Clay. I'm here for fun.
Awesome. Welcome, Clay. Welcome, RDA. So we're doing Armageddon tonight. What is the plan for the category?
So we're going to be doing the Conquest mode, which is the story mode of the game. It tells the lore that Mortal Kombat likes to throw in all their games. Typically, when you think of Mortal Kombat speedruns, you'll actually usually see arcade mode. But this is going to have more than just your 2D fighting. It's going to have some 3D movement, some overworld fighting, some pretty quirky, wacky fights. It's going to be a pretty interesting showcase for sure. I'm really excited to show it to you guys.
Awesome. Well, we are so stoked to have you here, RDA. Whenever you are ready to start the run, we're ready to get it going.
All right, yeah. So for this game, they have profiles. So we have to enter a profile, of course, to start the run. I made one just for Hotfix. For this category, we're doing all relics. We have to collect all 60 items that are for all the characters that are hidden throughout the story mode. And when you do that, you pretty much 100% the game. So it's basically 100%. Timing for this game is really weird. So it's not when you select the mode. It's when you first are able to move with Taven. So I'm going to just press start and let the game start loading in, but it's going to start. I'm going to give you a countdown when the timer will start. But
yeah, sounds good.
But we have to skip a cutscene here. It kind of just is a little intro to the story. This is the last game of the midway continuity Mortal Kombat games. I'm going to get you guys ready for time. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, good luck.
Accidentally collect the map is fine. You don't have to collect the map, you can actually roll right past it, but that's not much of a big deal. These are the relics here. There are 60 total. There are a little over 60 characters in the game, so there's some characters that don't have a relic. I can't think of off the top of my head which ones they are, but there's a couple of them that don't. But some of them are going to just be kind of out and about, just kind of floating, ready to be selected. Sometimes they'll be hidden, so you can't really see them until you get right into their line of sight, or they'll be inside of something like that tree that we broke. But this is like the basic movement of Mortal Kombat Armageddon, kind of rolling around in this very well-developed art style. And we are now fighting Cobra, which is just kind of a very doesn't look like Ken at all clone of That's kind of like he's kind of like a what's the word? A minion of Cabal, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can roll with that.
Oh, just wait.
So the story for this game, it's the game after Deadly Alliance. A lot of characters that we are all known and love are actually dead at this point. Liu Kang's dead. Johnny Cage is dead. A lot of people are just dead. So this is Taven. This was the Midway's way of trying to revive the franchise and like continue the timeline and all that fun stuff. They're basically very old demigods, Taven, and he has a brother. And they were frozen in time for like 1,000 years or something like that. And we're going to be taken out of a rock because instead of being in a ice cube or anything, they were put in a rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did they bust out of that one?
They have very magical parents. This is one of them. His name is Argus.
I think bad parents are sort of a tradition in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. The Taven is set to kind of figure out what's going on without being told what's going on, and also he has to. He just kind of gets being thrown in all different directions because he's neither a good or a bad guy. He doesn't know who's who and what's going on at all. So what we're doing right here is just like a little practice trial obelisk, what it's called. And this one, this is the only obelisk we have to do all the challenges in them. In the rest of the game, we can just skip after the first one. But
So this is just the game trying to like teach you how to play.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Right. You got to get the tutorial in. You got to polish the moves before you can go on the journey.
Right. The cutscene that we skipped at the intro is basically like kind of telling what's happening before the case. It's Taven and Dagon's parents putting them into the rocks and saying what's going on. Now Taven's awoken and he's like, "What's going on? I'm in a jungle." And
suddenly,
and then
why not?
Yeah, and he just comes across this this random obelisk, touches it, and then goes into the obelisk.
Now he's dealing with Jarek, which is a fate worse than death.
This that way of fighting, I did it with Cobra, I did it with Jarek here too. It's one of the faster ways to do the fights in general. You can do some aerial fighting as well. Aerial fighting is like, I'm not sure if it's new to Armageddon, but I know it was a lot of it was added in Armageddon. And it's really busted, really janky, really silly. It looks funny. You're going to see it sometimes on the run, but it's a little easier to pull off just little special moves. Get them in a stun lock, a wobble, if you will.
For anyone who's seen like the newest reveal for Mortal Kombat 1, that game is actually bringing back air combat that's kind of like in this game, but not bad.
Okay.
They're trying to make it a lot nicer for the fans.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and that's the last one. Last one of that trial.
Awesome.
So that was pretty much just like his dad telling him kind of what's going on, but very, very only like the first like 10 like sentences of the whole book, really. And then he's just kind of teaching him how to play the game and whatnot. Then we're gonna move on.
So will Taven be trying to like please the gods this entire run?
Not necessarily. He real like if you the honest like review of the story is Taven doesn't really know what's going on the entire time, and he's trying to figure out what's going on the entire time. And he doesn't necessarily, when he kind of figures out what's going on with his parents and his brother, he doesn't really agree with it. And then enter the final boss fight, right?
Okay, all right, we'll get there.
This.
What's so neat about this game is that, obviously Mortal Kombat is traditionally a 1 versus 1 fighting game, and that, as you've seen in this so far, that does exist. But this Conquest mode is basically a special sub mode that has its own gameplay and mechanics as well, and kind of marries that with the fighting. So that's kind of why you're seeing two different, like drastically different styles of gameplay here.
I think it's kind of awesome because it's not too jarring. Like, they do kind of weave in and out of each other pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, especially for what you would see in Mortal Kombat games nowadays. They do a similar concept. It's just a lot actually smaller production. They just do more cutscenes into the 2D fights and then back into cutscenes.
Yep.
While this game's kind of let you play the game, then they have your cutscenes, maybe not, and then you go right into the fighting.
Yeah, the thing that's neat with this is the previous game, Mortal Kombat Deception, also had a mode named Conquest mode, and it was similar in that you ran through open areas, but there wasn't actually any combat or fighting, so you would do like missions and run back and forth and collect things, but all the actual like fighting and gameplay was entirely in the 2D in the 1 versus 1 sections like this. Whereas this, they really added like a general combat system for the free roam part of the game too.
Right. If you've seen, I believe it was ran at a GDQ. I can't remember the year at the moment, but I believe Shaolin Monks was ran. And if you haven't seen that game, it's a really, really cool speed run. I absolutely recommend it. It's so
cool.
It's very similar to the fight style that this game has. It's a little. It was made before Armageddon, so it's a little janker. But it's such a cool speedrun for that reason. But that has a similar like overall style than this game. Whoa, weird combo by Cabal there. Okay, all right, it's fine.
I think if I remember correctly, it was either Ketchup or Mustard who ran Shaolin Monks, and those guys, if you're not familiar, are like two of the most like awesome people in the MK community. So shout outs to them.
It
was the first time that I think Mortal Kombat was actually featured in a GDQ. So
was it really the first time
you can
for
check
Mortal
out
Kombat?
I think there was another Mortal Kombat game done at one of our
you know what, you're right,
one-off events. Yeah.
MK Mythologies I think has been featured as well, and that's a game.
Oh yeah, Mythologies. Shout out to Calarse. Calarse's the homie.
Yes. Yeah, Calarse. Yeah, hell yeah.
Now, are the two of you like Mortal Kombat super fans? Do you play any of the other ones, or is it just kind of like Armageddon?
I do like the franchise. I like the lore of it all. I like the dramatics of it all. It's very entertaining to me. So I got into Mortal Kombat when I was in middle school, but I got into like the whole lore and midway continuity of the game during the pandemic, and that's when I got this game. Right at the beginning, I thought it would be a really cool like investment. Just the game looks super wacky. There wasn't any real speedruns of it too much, and it just looked really funny. So that's what kind of introduced me into the 3D era of it. Well, this is actually the 3D era of Mortal Kombat, which is the tail end of the Midway continuity. But Midway had such a very interesting way to go about their games, and they had a very like ambitious team for sure.
Yeah, I'm a Mortal Kombat super freak. People who know me, I just know that I'm super Mortal Kombat. I've been into it since my dad made the questionable decision of buying me Mortal Kombat 3 on the Super Nintendo when I was like in first grade. So that game scared the ever-loving crap out of me, and I loved it. And I've played every single one of them, and I play all of them ever since.
Now, did you ever play the games with your dad? Like Battle?
I did. We used to play back in the day. He liked the robot ninja Sector who shoots missiles out of his chest. Actually, that's
we're gonna see him right now. Actually, good timing.
Oh yeah, nice timing.
But we didn't really understand like how the game worked or how to play it. So like back in those times, with less proliferation of the internet, you had to like figure out the special moves yourself. Where you'd look in like a magazine to find out like codes and stuff like that. So it was interesting.
Oh yeah, the game guide.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My brother and I played probably actually I think it was Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh my goodness.
And that one is really something.
It sure is.
What about you, chat? Have you been playing any Mortal Kombat in your life? Tell us about it.
Yeah, please do. I love hearing people's Mortal Kombat stories.
And this is our first fight that has the one-hit KO sections. So that you're going to see a lot of these throughout the run, where you just go into a room and you have to kill the enemies, and there's just something in the level that just kills them in one hit. This is a fan in the ceiling.
Ultimate power.
That's sort of a theme too in the in the normal gameplay, where you're doing the 1 versus 1. Something that the previous game introduced and this game has as well is the idea of the stage transitions and death traps, which are also one-hit kill. You can knock somebody into a spike pit and that ends the round immediately.
Yeah, there's only one fight in the run where that is a possibility. The AI is incredibly aware of it. It's actually painful.
It better be.
It's crazy how aware of it that they are. But yeah, it's really interesting, and it makes it for really cool speedrun strats, especially if you can get it. But a lot of these levels are going to have just like open pits where we can throw enemies or kick them. We can kick them over them as well. It's a little harder to do that, but you can do it.
So I'm not super familiar specifically with the Armageddon lore, because that is kind of the one where everything just gets messy because every character ever is there.
Yeah.
But the area that we're in right now is it's Sector's Ninja Clan, the Takunin.
Mm-hmm.
Basically they're evil and they suck.
Yes.
That's a summary. And they're cyber ninjas, and there's cool stuff going on right now.
Yeah, and we have a time limit. The time limit says like 25 minutes, I think, when you go into it. It's not actually 25 minutes. It's obviously going way faster than the time. I think it's actually closer to 5 minutes that you have to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, cool. We got that in one shot. Good. The fireball that we got is very important. We're going to be using that a lot during the run. It's one hit for most enemies, as long as they're not like a kind of semi-boss enemy, which we will see. But yeah, fireballs are pretty good.
Here's Sector, the leader of the Tekunin, and this is an actual arena that's in the game normally. Sometimes you see, I think, arenas that are like specifically conquest mode only that may be more generic, but this is one that actually you play through like in arcade mode and stuff like that.
And you can hit him.
You can send him through the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. He like goes in and then he bounces around for a bit and comes out the other side. It's kind of amazing.
I saw someone in the chat say that Mortal Kombat 9 was their first, and that was mine as well. Like for playing and like seeing what Mortal Kombat was, Mortal Kombat 9 was my first, which was the revamp of the franchise, basically. So this was the last Mortal Kombat game that is canon to the franchise, or at least to the Midway continuity. And
it's a little complicated, yeah.
Yeah, and then Midway Games just got bought out. But right before that, they made a game called Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. That doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
But after a couple of years, they came out with Mortal Kombat. I think it was just called Mortal Kombat. I know people call it Mortal Kombat 9, but it was just called Mortal Kombat, which is just the revamp. It's the retelling of the first 3 stories, but with a little tweaks.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it actually, even though it serves as a reboot of sorts, it is actually a sequel. Because everything that happened in this game and the games before is still true. It's just that it's like another dimension now. Like the game's story mode focuses around Raiden getting messages from his past self, being like, "Don't do this, or else everything's going to be bad." And that's kind of where that game picks up. So it's kind of neat. It doesn't throw out everything. It just kind of recontextualizes everything.
Right. Yeah. Oh, almost. Definitely. I can. That was actually a really good fight, but I almost forgot the relic. Don't forget the relics when you're doing all relic speedruns. The fun.
Some of the relics are kind of amazing. I know I saw one earlier as Johnny's relic is of course Johnny's autograph, because Johnny Cage is, that's his entire thing.
Yeah,
he's a movie
just
star.
a picture of him.
Absolutely.
It's just a picture of him.
Now, you were saying at the beginning that not every character has a relic?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm pretty sure there's 65 characters in this game, because I'm playing on the Wii, which, fun fact.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, this has the most Mortal Kombat game or characters like ever in any Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But since I'm playing on the Wii version, it's specific. Ooh, I missed. Okay. It has a character that is not on any of the other versions. It's a chameleon, which is a ninja that is. They were like a secret boss character in like Mortal Kombat 4, I think, was the first one they were in.
They're in a MK trilogy on the N64.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're basically like a ninja that can be any color. They're like invisible. So this game has Chameleon in it, and Chameleon doesn't have a relic. And there's a couple other, I can't remember which.
I feel like Meat probably doesn't. Maybe like
no,
the
Meat
don't.
does have one.
Oh,
neat. It's called Meat's Steak. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking it was just the main, the main roster of characters, but here we are.
Meat originated as a joke character in MK4, where if you did a certain silly thing, that your character would load in and there would just be a skeleton with meat on it. And you would still have all the same moves, but it would just be that like skeleton model. And so he kind of became affectionately beloved from fans. So he's included in here as his own character.
And he's not bad either.
Do either of you have like a favorite character or someone that you play with a lot in the kind of arcade style mode?
Absolutely. I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
I'm so bad at 2D fighters, to be honest with you. It's honestly amazing that I like Mortal Kombat so much. And I think that's also why I like the 3D era of Mortal Kombat, just because they do have some aspects that are more than the 2D fighting. But I do like playing as Nightwolf a lot of the time.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Nightwolf's a classic.
Nightwolf is cool.
I can't remember her name, but she's a vampire in this game.
Nitara.
Yeah, Nitara.
Nitara. Yeah.
I like Nitara as well.
So, what about you, Clay?
I've played pretty much I think the only Mortal Kombat game I have not actually tried in some form is Mortal Kombat Special Forces, and that is something that I will get to eventually. But I love a lot of the characters in the series, and so sometimes between games, the characters actually change a lot, as opposed to some other fighting series where they kind of are like very similar between games. But in general, I love characters like Sub-Zero and Nightwolf, Rain, who has like lightning attacks, and this roundhouse kick that sends you around the world. Those are some of my favorites.
What about you, chat? Do you have a favorite? I think if I had to choose, I would probably pick I don't know, maybe Sindel, because
I love her.
That's a good one.
I love her.
Yeah.
I almost said Sindel. I love her.
Gotta whip the hair back and forth sometimes.
She is incredible. So something fun. It isn't necessarily about this specific game, but the original trilogy of arcade games is really interesting because they use that digitized, those digitized graphics where you had actual actors like doing motion capture and were filmed and kind of imported frame by frame into the game. So it gives them a lot of personality, and it's kind of interesting to see how they, after they stopped using the actors specifically, like how the characters kind of changed in the 3D era.
Oh yeah, the characters end up, just performing like completely differently. I think that added such a cool touch to the classic Mortal Kombat games for sure. Yeah,
it's funny. I've actually met a few of the actors for the original
That's awesome.
MK games.
How was that?
It's really cool. They're cool people. They're just really happy and appreciative that after all this time, like, people are still like, we love this character, or we still play Mortal Kombat, on the Super Nintendo, or like we remember, Sonya always had her, leg grab, or we love Jax with his, big metal arms and stuff, and he has those fatalities where like he gets really big and he steps on you or whatever. And, all of that was them acting it out, so it's pretty special for them, I think, to see people still enjoying it after all this time. It's been 30 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, to be embracing the fans, instead of being embarrassed or whatever. So that's really cool
they own it. They're like, yeah, this was fun, and like people like this a lot more than we could have ever imagined. So like they're always down to be like, they'll show up at places all the time, and arcades and stuff, and they're cool. They're very cool.
I'm just focusing a little bit. This is one of the more difficult. Oh, I played that all safe then. Kind of silly.
That hammer's very funny.
Yeah, this last one can be a little tricky, so I'm just gonna play it a little safe. But the Arctica level, which is what we're in now, can be a little tricky, so I like to play it safe in some of the sections here. But it's going pretty good. This fight here is kind of weird. We have to fight all these guys before we can hit Oulé. And it's really like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre. You can't hit him with any special moves, and also once you're done with all the like killing all the enemies, you can hit him. You can't hit him until then, but sometimes you'll just like pretend none of them, or like all of them aren't dead still, and he'll just keep hitting you away. It's kind of weird. I don't really understand it, but as long as you just keep mashing punch, for the most part, you'll win. If you finish him, you'll get like another treasure chest. There's lots of fun, cool categories that you can do with this game that are on the category extensions. There's because pretty much on the main leaderboards, there's any percent in all relics. Any percent is a pretty cool category because you get to do more of like a new game plus category. It allows you to enter conquest mode with like as much power-ups collected as possible, so you can maximize your power-ups and just go in and just beat everybody up.
Good old beat 'em up. Can't beat that.
But for this one, we're actually collecting those power-ups and having to make sure that like we don't run out of power gauge, or we have a lot less health than what we would have if we had all the power-ups. So it's kind of neat for that aspect. But there's like treasure chests that you can collect. There's all the obelisk challenges that you don't do. There's motor combat, which Clay said earlier, there's like a little joke side game that's in all the other Mortal Kombat games, or like the 3D era games. There's Mortal Kombat Chess. I can't remember all the other ones, but this
Puzzle
one...
Combat.
Was Puzzle Combat?
Yeah, it's literally like Super Puzzle Fighter, but with MK characters.
That's sick. But this one is motor combat, so really cool, really fun ILs. There is a best character in the game. It's Melina, because the power-ups are specific per character. So like the same power, you'll get the same power up every time, depending on what character you are. And Melina gets a power up, like a speed boost. So kind of a cheater.
So, RDA, you run a couple of the categories mentioned. Do you find this the most fun, or what made you decide to choose all relics today?
I thought this was the best way to show off Armageddon. The reason I wanted to add like other categories is partially I love category extensions, love all those fun new ways to beat a game as fast as possible. I think it's fun. But the difference between any percent and all relics for the world record is only about 5 minutes. And that's partially because all relics world record isn't as optimized, just because there's more to do. But there isn't actually that much difference in gameplay, especially if you're like performing it all well and doing it fast. It looks about the same. There's just some more fun stuff that you get to show off about the game that I wouldn't get to show off if I was doing any percent. So I thought it would be more fun to show it, collecting all the stuff.
all the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that probably most of the items we collect here are kind of on the way, because the route seems to be a bit linear.
Yep.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, okay. So,
for sure.
Maybe that's what's going on.
A lot of the time, it's just like, you have to see if you could figure out that there was an item that was like hidden. It wasn't like fully lit, because some of the items will not like show unless you're standing right next to it. So it was definitely from a time where there wasn't internet and hints on where stuff was. I do need to make sure I get this item right here.
Although interestingly, starting with Mortal Kombat Deception, they did actually support online play through PlayStation 2 and Xbox Live, like on the original Xbox. And hearing about some of that stuff that happened back then was really fascinating, because the online game, like a lot of games today that have online modes, they're very similar to the standard game. But in terms of how it was at this point, given just the nature of things, the online play was often very, very, very different from playing it locally, even down to like certain balance things or certain things that would work and may not work in different versions of the game.
I thought the ninja ran right into the fireball, but that was still really good. Sorry, this is a pretty pivotal fight in the run. Just because it's a really long one, and it's not cycle based necessarily, but you do have to like kill a certain amount before the next one show up, and you have to stand in certain spots so that they will show up as well. If you're just standing in the corner, they will not spawn. You have to kind of be running around.
They gang up on you like real hard.
I got that. The more we kill, we get more gauge as well.
If you notice in the top right corner, it has the names of the enemies and stuff. So we're in the Lin Kuei, the Lin Kuei clan, which is led by Sub-Zero. So if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat, there's the rivalry of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they're rival ninja clans, and Sub-Zero's is the Lin Kuei, so that's kind of the area that we're in right now. You kind of go through like all of these different like major like factions of characters and areas from Mortal Kombat at large.
And I think actually in the new game coming out, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are like supposed to be brothers.
Yeah,
they are.
Which is a little different. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it personally.
I think it's cool. I think that I'm glad that they're deciding to like fully try to rebrand Mortal Kombat. It's just something at least a little different than what we're used to for the past 30 years,
It's very fresh. It is another quote unquote reboot, but it's also one that also is not, it doesn't it isn't deleting anything that came before it. It's once again like it's following what the second round of Mortal Kombat created, and now because of the events in that game, this new reality has come to be made. So you have neat stuff like Sub-Zero and Scorpions are brothers for the same clan, or you have Melina and Katana are real sisters, and her appearance is due to a disease. A lot of interesting changes to make things fresh.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It'll be something to look forward to. And I know a couple years back, I want to say like 2021, there was a new Mortal Kombat movie, like kind of a reboot.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on just like the newer movies, or even some of the 90s movies, Mortal Kombat? Yeah, you too?
They're definitely campy. The older ones are... I wouldn't say the new one was that bad. It was okay. It was just kind of a little wonky, a little silly here and there, but it wasn't bad. I think the best one was called Mortal Kombat Annihilation, right? Isn't that the...
Well, Annihilation is
second one, right?
That's the second Hollywood one that's known for being not great.
Yeah, but I think that one's the better one.
yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
But they are, if you like some funny visuals, that's definitely the movies to go to.
I'm guilty because I've actually, despite playing all of the games and engaging in a lot of different Mortal Kombat stuff over the years, I've never seen any of the Mortal Kombat movies.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I never even saw the original. I haven't seen Annihilation. I haven't seen some of the new animated ones they've done recently.
Wow.
I didn't see the new live action one they did recently. I own some of them. I just never gotten around to watching them.
My friend, I hope you don't have weekend plans, because you should really sit down and just have fun, watch them.
I should. It's funny because for Mortal Kombat 11, they actually brought the actor who played Shang Tsung in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. I'm going to butcher his name, but Kerry Tagawa. And he actually does play Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11, and his performance in that game just elevates it so high. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, that's a fun fact. I didn't know that, actually.
I think they got him for the new Mortal Kombat 2, didn't they? Or...
I don't think so, unfortunately. Okay. So he looks younger. I know there's some. Yeah, I think there's speculation that they may have gotten the actor who did Shang in the latest live action movie. I don't know if it's specifically based on anything, but at the least they have not. They certainly haven't been like, yeah, he's reprising the role, which is such a shame to me because, God, he was the best part of Mortal Kombat 11 to me.
It was a very cool feature for sure.
I'm a big Shang Tsung fan.
So for this fight, I have to check this dead body 3 times in order to find the item there. But we did it.
Something that you might have seen as RDA has been playing is he collects coins occasionally that have the Mortal Kombat logo on them. And those are sort of like the overall currency in the game, not just this mode, that you can use to like unlock stuff. So a lot of the 3D Mortal Kombat games have a feature called the Crypt, where either in the form of coffins or some sort of table or database, you can spend coins to unlock stuff like concept art or characters or stages or music or whatever. So you get a lot of the coins to unlock that stuff in conquest mode in here, but you get it in other modes as well. It sort of like unifies everything together.
Yeah,
I always thought that was kind of a fun way to see like exclusive stuff from the game, collect all the stuff.
Yeah,
I love the Crypt.
Yeah,
I love the Crypt.
The Crypt, yeah, like the little Easter eggs and stuff. The Crypt coins. Oh, y'all remember?
Yeah, and of course they're with a K. Yeah, the Crypt is the Crypt. Everything's with a K. So
kind of keep it cool.
The something that was very fun. So the Crypt was introduced in the first fully 3D Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and it kind of it returns in these. In Deception and in this game, and there's in Deadly Alliance they even included stuff that was silly, like silly skits or like videos from older games or production materials from past games. So it's sort of like an in-game museum of sorts on the game's
this
creation.
game has a lot of that same stuff to it, and the
Right.
Crypt isn't very like the Crypt isn't very detailed. It's just like a picture, it's just some pictures and like a frame. But they do have like videos, some like sketches and like pictures of the cast and like staff members, stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a fun way to celebrate, I think, the game. And I imagine, I guess, at least, if you bought the game, you may be interested on some level, like, how it was made. So it's nice to see that sort of content included so deliberately.
I like the way you described it as a museum. And
Yeah.
Cat's bringing up the cooking with Scorpion.
Yeah.
Forgot about that one.
Cooking with Scorpion's the one I always think of is Cooking with Scorpion. It's the iconic one. You are dead.
Yeah.
I love how matter of fact that is.
I take that death there. Make sure you get the checkpoint after you do. Ooh. Interesting. I've never collected that before. Okay.
There it is, my friends.
Yeah.
Always got to have one.
But you complete the levers to open the door, and then you get the checkpoint, and then you go in, get that last relic, and then SD pretty much, so you can. Oh, okay. There's a little bit of animation when you pick up items that enemies are holding. So that's what that was. Oh no. The strat here. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're good.
The strat here is to try and get them spawning in this line here, because they'll spawn in a line on the right and left of the stage. So the strat is to try and get them all in a line and keep hitting them with the fireball and not have to get another cycle with the scepter, or just do like a really quick 2-cycle. That was okay, but we're just gonna have them respawn, kill them, and not kill him. But as you're saying.
No, I was just gonna say, I was kind of curious what chat was thinking, both in this game and throughout the series. I think one of the coolest things is the sound design in Mortal Kombat. Everything from the music, but to like the silly like gibberish voices that characters make when you're smacking them around. I don't know if chat has any that are particularly memorable to them, or if you do RDA.
What about the whoopsie?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree with you there. The sound design is awesome for Mortal Kombat. It is unique. What do you think?
It's
You go, Clay. You go. You're good.
Okay, well, there's that Jarek scene that everyone remembers from Mortal Kombat 4. So that game, the endings are videos, and they have voice acting, which is it is acting. We'll agree on that. And so there's a scene where Jarek throws Sonya Blade off of a cliff, and he does this laugh. And if I could try to imitate this laugh, it's something like, it makes no sense. It's so stupid. It sounds so dumb though, and it's probably one of my favorite things.
I will say the sound design and the voice acting for this game has always entertained me.
Yeah.
The production of this game as a whole is very fascinating, and is a big part of why I picked it up as a speed game and why I got it. It's very funny. It is both unique and not at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very schlocky B-movie kind of feeling, which is great. That is a compliment.
There's like that one sound too that it's like when you're moving along the ladder and it's like or whatever. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, any Liu Kang voice clips are always memorable. I won't even attempt to do that. Anything with Shao Kahn's announcer voice, Steve Ritchie, who's also very well known in the world of pinball, as a pinball designer and voice actor, who voiced Shao Kahn on the arcade games, probably one of the most iconic voices of my childhood because that voice terrified me.
Now we're just randomly fighting Noob. I guess it's not too random. Towards the end of the midway continuity, Noob and Smoke, who we saw earlier, were kind of like best buds, so to speak.
Yeah, they like partner up. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But we were fighting all different kinds of people. We fought Sonya earlier just because she thought we were a bad guy, so we had to fight her to tell her we weren't a bad guy.
Yeah, you always have to have a silly excuse to fight somebody. So it's like, oh, you think peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are bad?
It's
fight
on.
me. Yeah.
Another factor for the speedrun, I actually tested this too because I wasn't sure. I just didn't think of it at all either. But the gore for the game has to be on high. It has to be on max when you're doing speedruns for this game. Or at least for Conquest, because there's a couple different fights where you can't one-shot enemies if it's not on max gore. So that's why we have the gore on max.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's how it should be.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually a little odd.
Yeah,
that's canon.
I had no idea
canon.
until I was doing a run, and then I got to one of the levels, and I was like, why aren't any of them dying?
Oh my goodness.
Took like 3 hits. I was like, what the heck?
Like, you try to play it on an easier mode, but it just doesn't work.
If there's not gore flying around everywhere, you're not playing Mortal Kombat. People remember when Mortal Kombat came out on the Super Nintendo, the original Mortal Kombat, and it was, the blood was replaced by sweat, and everyone's like, that's boring. You need to get it on Sega because they have the blood code in there. You can get all the cool stuff.
They did have that. Yeah,
they did.
That, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of our chatters were talking about, all the different fatalities and babalities and friendship and everything else. Like, they really had a lot.
A core memory that I have is like trying to see all the fatalities and babalities and stuff in Mortal Kombat 9 with my friends.
Oh yeah, and they're good in that game. They're really good in that game. There's some games that have better ones than others, and in the original incarnation of babalities, it was very simple. The opponent just becomes a baby sprite and that's it. But for MK9, the babalities are really neat because they're more like friendships, in that they have a kind of a cinematic thing that happens. Like, each baby has their own silly thing that makes them cry. I think it was it Baraka? I can't remember. One of them is like, Baraka has his like arms, like his little spike blades as a baby, and like they extend out, and he like bonks his head and falls and starts crying. It's very funny.
Aww.
I think Sub-Zero pees by accident, and it turns into ice, and he slips and falls on it and starts crying.
You have a good memory. I don't remember a lot of the babality.
I've spent way too much time with these games and watching them.
Yeah, the new Mortal Kombat's gonna be really cool.
I'm excited. I'm stoked.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember the release date for the new Mortal Kombat, but I want to say it's in a couple of months.
It's in September.
I think it's September. Yeah, they just had the closed like online stress test. I think a week or two ago. That was really cool. I didn't get to play it because I don't have a PlayStation 5, but I just jealously watched other people play.
It looked pretty good.
Yeah. And you can see, again, like, stuff from Armageddon is, after all this time, you're going to see that aerial combat stuff again in a different form. So there's always something interesting and new going on in Mortal Kombat. See, we're fighting Fujin here.
Yeah, I like Fujin. He's another one of those characters I like to play as. Kind of annoying in the run.
Neat.
Kind of annoying.
He seems kind of annoying in the run, yeah.
He
is the wind god.
Yeah, he can either be rather timid and just not do anything, or he can just keep using his wind.
Yeah. He, for anyone who played Mythologies, Fujin first shows up in that game, and then he's in Mortal Kombat 4 as his, like, mainline playable debut. But between Mortal Kombat 4 and this game, there was no Fujin, so he kind of came back after a while.
I think that the last Mortal Kombat game I tried to play was maybe 10. And
I love that game.
That's a good one.
There's kind of like a bug woman. Or...
D'Vorah.
Yes, D'Vorah.
Okay,
she's very contentious in the community.
Oh, is she?
She is, yeah.
People either love her or they despise her.
Okay.
And I find that interesting.
I think
now
cool.
that I've said that, what do you think?
I think she's cool. I like her.
I don't know. I played as her a lot because I guess I thought her moves were cool.
They're neat. She's gross.
Yeah, she's a little strange, so that's probably why I gravitate toward her because of that.
She's pretty unique, I think, amongst Mortal Kombat characters. She's pulling like bug larvae out of her and like doing all these weird things, and it's like, that's cool and gross, but cool. You have support in the chat. Don't worry.
Yes, we got some love in the chat for D'Vorah.
Yeah.
This is a
Red Dragon.
pretty neat fight where you can kind of set them up to hit them all with the fireballs when they land. You're supposed to freeze them in time because that's the new power up we get, but that's not too useful in the run other than when it's needed. So instead we just kind of throw them into the bombs. Those red barrel looking things are bombs. Just throw them into the bomb. That's an instant kill. Now we're fighting Mavado, who is a vampire.
Yeah. Mavado is he's part of the Red Dragon, like Cabal has the hook swords. He has the hook swords, and he showed up in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, not Cabal, and he was like, yes, I have Cabal swords, and like, he was kind of like almost like a replacement for him, and he's not particularly well liked either. He's very known for a very silly fatality he has, where he like basically like puts down to like he like throws the swords into the ground and has basically a giant elastic that he then stretches back and then he flings himself into you and steps on you. It's very silly.
It's like kind of wrestling vibes.
Yeah, kind of. He's a character that exists. But this is the Red Dragon is a gang. There's the Red Dragon and the Black Dragon, and they're rival clans. I guess maybe because they're both mad that they're dragons and there can only be one set of dragons. But they cause all kinds of problems throughout Mortal Kombat history.
I see a question that I've seen a lot throughout the years. I've been speedrunning since 2012, so I've gotten this question a lot. I am a rubber ducky, that assassin. It's the verb.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
I was gonna ask you actually,
Yeah.
RDA. So what is the game that got you into speedrunning? Like, how did you start doing this?
I started speedrunning. I kind of started watching Mario 64 back in the day. That was like super. I mean, it still is huge, but it was absolutely gigantic. Big Limit and Honey battling it out every day. It was kind of nuts. But Mario 64, I used to watch Ribbed Killa, and I started speedrunning with Simply, good gamer, good friend, and I just kind of got addicted to it ever since then. It's something that I love to do. I kind of do it on accident with all the games that I play casually. I just kind of will run through the games.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just a fun hobby that I've always done. I need to kill this girl here first. So we, for whatever reason, have to fight all these two girls here. And the best way to do is to throw this one into the bomb first because she can heal them. And then we just kind of throw the other two into the other bombs. We can also throw fireballs at them, but bombs are a little bit more easier to get the kill on. But
Avon makes me think I should not skip arm day.
side.
Those girls are the appear in Mortal Kombat mythologies in Quan Chi's lair, Serena, Jakarta, and Kia. And they're kind of like fan favorites because they don't get featured too much.
Yeah.
Are they like sisters or just like a cool group of ladies?
I think they're just like henchmen.
Yeah, they're all just like henchmen of other characters. One of them's like I think the daughter of Kano or something, and one of them is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just related to other characters.
Serena is usually the most popular one. People love Serena.
And why is that?
I'm not sure. I think she's just, the one that appears the most in MK mythologies, and she showed up in some of the spin-off games, like the Game Boy Advance version of like Deadly Alliance. She shows up in an iteration of that. So there's this, big, little following for Serena that really wants her playable and stuff.
Yeah, she was frankly
right
just chosen by the fan base.
Yeah, pretty much. And I can't remember if it's Serena or if it's another one of the ladies, but in Mortal Kombat mythologies, they're still played by actors and actresses. And the same actress who plays Sindel in Mortal Kombat 3 plays one of them. I don't remember if it's Jakarta or Serena, but...
Oh, that's very cool.
So they share like actors, but it's different characters. Yeah, I think it's Serena, but I could be wrong. Someone in chat can tell me.
But yeah, Mario and Pokemon as well. I love Pokemon. I have a Pokemon tattoo.
Oh my goodness, which Pokemon?
I have a Trico tattoo.
Aw,
Yeah, let's
that's
go.
cute. Any Pokemon fans? I like Vaporeon.
It's a great Pokemon. Great choice.
Vaporeon is great. I like the Pokemon spin-offs a lot. I played a lot of, Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Pinball and stuff.
Oh yeah, gosh. I feel like I probably meme as Professor Oak like once a day.
Yeah. You were close.
You were close. Sorry, y'all.
That's a classic. No worries. Ooh, okay, yeah. So these are one of the first enemies that we'll see that have super armor sometimes. It's not all the time, just sometimes. Sometimes you just can't really grab them, or they just like out-prioritize you. And you just gotta kind of deal with it, and that's okay.
How dare they?
They're zombies.
So
I don't
I
think
guess-
they really know any better.
I guess question for you, RDA,
Yeah.
for people who are watching who maybe are not familiar with the term super armor, or maybe some of the terms that are
Right.
used in fighting games, how would you describe that mechanic?
So basically, when we try to use a move on it, there's like a shield of a sense that automatically will be on the character, so that if we try to use attack, it will not do anything, and they can still use an attack. So they're basically like invulnerable for like that little second that they're getting attacked. So they can just do something while we're doing our attack that we didn't know was going to be countered.
They get decked in the face and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're fighting Draman now, I see. He's an Oni. He's the bug guy. He's surrounded by flies. He's pretty gross.
Oh, is this the OG bug fighter?
Oh,
Yeah, kind of.
Very interesting.
He has... I don't see it right now, but he has this iron club that he uses that's usually attached to his arm.
yeah, it's there. Oh, it's actually
and you can throw,
it's actually
weapon
not right
stance.
there. Yeah, it's a weapon stance.
Yeah. So in Armageddon, there are two, I guess it's worth mentioning, there are two fighting stances. The three MKs are stance-based fighters in that you have 2 to 3 fighting stances that have different moves, and you switch between them by pushing a button. And there are sometimes combos that you do in one stance that lead directly into another. For Mortal Kombat Armageddon, the average character has one hand-to-hand combat stance and then one weapon stance, and the weapon stance is always the one that's like written in silver. So you have to use those stances and the universal special moves that the character has to, do what you're gonna do. So Drawman's is that club. I don't know if does Taven have. What is Taven's?
Yeah, I'm always using Taven's weapon instead of his just regular fighting stance, just because it has a ridiculous range for uppercut and my forward. I don't know what else to call it other than forward YY because that's what I pressed. yeah. So that's that's the reason why I use Taven's sword, which we will get later on in the game. We do not technically have it, but they're not gonna take out his fighting stance because that would mean more development.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird. A lot of characters in Armageddon, it's best to use their weapon stances, but it depends. Character by character, you know how to be.
There are some strats in fights, specifically with like boss fights, Blaze, where you can use his hand-to-hand and it works pretty decently, but everyone kind of plays the game differently, though. Fireworks going off crazy outside my house. If you guys are having a good fireworks show, put some kind of emo. I don't know.
If the fireworks stopped here, so they were going off a lot earlier.
I haven't heard them in a while, but there was a kind of a fire warning today in the area, so I'm hoping that nothing has caught fire.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. No news is probably good news.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's true.
There's a lot of stuff catching on fire in this area. I mean, that's what happens when you're in the Netherrealm. It's all fire and brimstone and lava. So
yeah, Netherrealm is kind of like basically just like the underworld in a sense, but we're just on this big, tall volcano type thing. I had to wait for the little power up to spawn again. I just don't have enough to get all the sensors that I need to hit in order to progress and to also get the relic that I need.
For people who are more familiar with the modern or current Mortal Kombat games, NetherRealm Studios is the name of the studio that developed those, and it gets, of course, it gets its name from this area. Previously, they were Midway Chicago, so it's still the same team after Midway was bought out by WB. It's just they've changed names, and I would say they've been given a lot more of a budget now to do things.
Oh, definitely. Great.
So what's happening in this fight is I'm actually not really supposed to really fight anything. So these power-ups are supposed to spawn when the enemies die. Nothing was spawning for a little bit. That was a little interesting. But they just spawn after the enemy dies. It's either nothing will spawn, this power-up will spawn, or a health power-up will spawn. And we just need to collect a bunch of these power-ups for some reason. We don't have to kill them. We don't have to really do anything. We just have to collect them.
And it fills that meter? Is that...
Yeah, that's what fills the meter on the side, telling it how the progression of the fight.
It's driving me a little nutty because there's that one power-up that pops up that's kind of like a bluish crystal.
Yep.
And it looks like the water bottle power-up in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I keep thinking it is every single time. So. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to recharge Flood to win this fight.
Yeah, this isn't the best RNG here, but that's okay. Because that's what we do here as speedrunners. You kind of deal with it.
Well, a lot of
adaptive strats sometimes.
Yeah, we got decent here. You kind of also want to go into the fight with a full gauge. I didn't do that because I tried to save some time, but that's okay.
Oh, it's Lee May. Hi, Lee May.
This was another 3D era character that was added that was kind of like a female protagonist, kind of trying to fit the Liu Kang mold, but never got the time to do it.
Yeah, they took her in a kind of a weird direction too after Deadly Alliance. I don't know. I think they kind of just didn't really know what to do with her.
We're fighting her because we currently, I think at this point in the story, we see Shinnok. We know Shinnok's there, and Taven actually knows who Shinnok is, because before Taven was put to sleep, Shinnok was an elder god, and now he's a bad guy. But
yeah, he's kind of like a
that's
fallen.
common. I feel like that's a common thing. Like good guys become bad guys and vice versa. Like,
but the thing is, I don't know if Shinnok was ever a good guy.
I know he was an elder god, and he was sort of a fallen elder god. Like either he was exiled or they didn't like what he was up to, so he got banished into the Nether Realm, and for years, tried to escape to get his revenge. And so I guess the whole background story of Mortal Kombat 4 is about Shinnok and how he caused this war that basically like devastated Earth, and then he got banished into the Nether Realm, and now he's trying to escape, and has been able to do so, and it is causing these issues. If you haven't seen Shinnok before, he's essentially like a sorcerer type, with like bony hands, or he'll like send like giant like bone hands like out of the ground and stuff. He's kind of creepy.
We're basically doing all this right now for Shinnok.
Yeah,
we're trying to, but all these enemies are not his doing, kind of. He's trying to clear it all so that he can get it back, and we're trying to help him out because we think he's a good guy. Little old Taven.
And
no.
Silly little Taven. The guy in hell is a good guy, sure.
This is the fight that I found out was like made the gore faster. These enemies here would die in 3 hits if you don't have the gore on max.
It's like whack-a-mole right now.
Yeah, everyone's running around.
Okay. That was interesting. We just have 2 cycles of these imps, and we don't want.
I'm just loving the whack-a-mole.
It's very satisfying, actually.
It's just it's so much fun. Like, let's go. Can we just make that a game?
I'm actually wondering, CMM, when you're gonna drop the Mortal Kombat lore YouTube channel.
Oh God!
You know so much about this game. It's been really cool hearing all the facts that you know.
I just love Mortal Kombat. I mean, it's funny because this game is actually one of the ones I've spent less time with overall. But it's such it's so fun to just kind of watch, and all the characters and stuff are so cool.
There's Shinnok.
Oh, it's Havoc.
Oh, there we go.
Here's Havoc.
Havoc is cool.
Havoc's a character that a lot of people want to have brought back because he's just such a whack character. He's so cool. He'd be so cool in today's graphics too.
He would be. He's sort of a representative of, in the 3D era, they had a bunch of different realms. Like, you had Earth, you had Outworld, you had, Hell, you had
Edenia.
Edenia. And the 3D era added a few more, such as Chaos Realm and Order Realm. And Havoc hails from Chaos Realm, and he's chaotic.
Yep.
So he's a neat character. He just kind of causes stuff. That's it. He causes stuff.
Yeah.
But I think part of the appeal of Mortal Kombat and, a game like Armageddon is that, unlike, there are lots of long-running fighting game series. You have Street Fighter, you have your King of Fighters, you have Tekken. And all of those do have memorable characters, and some of them have pretty intricate stories. But I always felt that the Mortal Kombat universe and story was the most interesting. And the characters were the most unique between each other. Like, you have these characters, like one of them has a spinning razor saw hat blade. You have this other one who's basically Bruce Lee. You have a special agent. You have a guy who shoots ice. You've got, they all have very distinct, if you see one of their moves, you're like, oh, it's that character. Which I think is neat.
That's what attracted me to Mortal Kombat. It was so chaotic, so crazy. And it was very entertaining. And
I looked it up, and apparently there are 77 playable fighters throughout the series. That's wild.
Yeah. It's 30 years of over 30 years of Mortal Kombat now, and there are so many unique characters that show up in different forms over the years. Some more than others. And it's just really cool to kind of see how they change over time.
I think too it's fun because a lot of the characters are really just unhinged. You know?
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it kind of just makes it fun and like really wacky, which I think is special to Mortal Kombat as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, how do you make, if we're using these actors to play these human characters, or mostly human characters, how do we make them distinct, even with, limitations? Like Mortal Kombat is very famous for having the palette swap ninjas where, they're just ninjas and they're different colors. Well, how do we make them different from each other? Well, the blue one shoots ice, the green one shoots like acid and is kind of like is literally a reptile, The purple one drops lightning down. The black one teleports and does all this stuff. So they're all kind of have so much personality out of so little. And then as time goes on with these 3D games and the newer games, they're kind of fleshed out more. And I think that's really neat to see.
For sure.
I know that they also always try to one-up themselves with like the intent, like the intensity, the like craziness, the fatalities, everything. Like they always try to one-up themselves. Yeah. So I'm sure that they had that mentality like throughout the 30 years of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, this game
make it bigger and better like every release.
Yeah, and I think they've done a very good job over the years of like doing different ambitious and neat stuff. Like each game isn't like you play a Mortal Kombat game and then you play its sequel. It's not like they're not exactly the same. There's all weird, unique things going on in each of them, which I think is what has kind of helped kept it so alive after all this time. Like this game just randomly gives you a Mario Kart mini game where you can drive off a cliff and explode. Like, it's
like, why not,
Yeah, like why not? Sure, let's do it.
When I tell you I saw Motor Combat, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, everybody says that. It's like, wait, what?
How would you like a double take? What did you say?
Motor Combat.
Yeah, like, what was that? Or like the chess combat from Mortal Kombat Deception, which is actually pretty cool. Like, what do you mean chess combat? And it's like, well, you're on a giant chessboard of Mortal Kombat characters, and when a piece is defeated in combat, it dies and it's removed from the board. Like,
all right, that was one of the first bosses. Actually, I think it is the first boss we fought. They have some different traits when you're doing the fights with them. Some of the moves don't work right. For certain enemies, specifically Blaze, which we'll see later, the fireball doesn't do anything to them. So the fight dynamic is a little different. But since the characters are so big, as long as the fireball will hit them, that the ground pound fireball strat's very effective with them, just because of how the AI rolls out and just reacts. Usually, it's kind of not the smartest. Not the smartest.
Shao Kahn's fortress.
I saw someone ask in chat, are Shiva, Kintaro, and Goro all related? Sort of. So they're all part of the same lineage. They're all Shokan, which are the kind of the race of four-armed creatures, I'll call them, in Mortal Kombat. And there is a story about like how they're not, them and the centaurs don't get along. They're not friends, and there's like conflicts like that over time. But in the original games, those characters were made with like clay models. They're stop motion animated, which is really cool.
Oh, that's awesome! Actually,
Yeah. I've always really liked the Shokan. I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah,
like their whole lineage and the comic books have really cool storyline stuff with them as well. All right. So for this section, we have to clear these two balconies and pull the lever so we can enter the door. But there's some puzzles going on. Okay, go, Taven, go. Okay. But a lot of stuff was one shots, so we have to be a little careful. Definitely on engage this. Okay, good. This
can't believe Dark Souls happened here.
Oh no.
I was thinking it, but you said it.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta put it out there.
So right here, I think it's like an Easter egg probably, because it's not like a glitch. But if you get these guys close to the ledge, and then you do the ground pound, you can hit them off the shield, off the wall. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes they'll bounce back. I think they have to be pretty close to the ledge, if not like right on the ledge. But saves a lot of time because they have a lot of health.
So RDA, I know you mentioned earlier that you decided to run Conquest kind of in the pandemic, but do you run any other fighting games? We had a question kind of come in from there.
I used to run a lot of Super Smash Brothers. That was kind of one of my bigger. Actually, it was like probably the first game I took like really seriously when I got into speedrunning for sure. I used to run Subspace Emissary. And
oh, that's fun.
While I was doing all that, I was also just running all the other Smash games just because affiliation. But other than that, I don't run any other fighting games. I do love the fighting game scene though. There's shout out to the fighting game speedrunning community. They always do really cool speedruns. They always have really wacky games to show off. I really like the Dragon Ball Z speedruns as well. That's actually really niche speedrun fact about me. I really like the Dragon Ball Z ones. I used to run them a long time ago, but yeah, I used to do a lot of Smash games. I don't play fighting games as much as I used to. I do a lot more Spyro, a lot more specifically speedrunning, like random nostalgic games that I played when I was a kid, and less like focusing on this fighting games just because I did it for so long. But this game, I definitely don't see it as like the same thing as Smash, or as like a typical fighting game, just because of the 3D aspects of it and like the routing and all the different categories I can do. It's its own entity for sure.
So do you think that you'll be going through like a new speedrun soon with one of those nostalgic games that you mentioned?
Have I been picking up? I have been recently doing more Pokemon Stadium.
Oh, right on. Just
because it came out for the Switch, it's a lot more accessible. So I've been trying to fill up those leaderboards with Switch times. So it's a lot less laggy on the Switch. Ooh, can't open the door. Doors have to open if you press the B button. So that's why I'm like sometimes kicking the door. But I really, really love the GBA Spyro games. Okay, I'm getting wobbled. All right. If you haven't like played any of those or know what I'm talking about, like didn't know there was Spyro on GBA, like definitely check out the Spyro speedrunning community. It's such an awesome community. The speedruns are always also like really cool, and I definitely plan on focusing a lot of my speedrun time on those handheld Spyro games. They're such cool speedruns, super fast paced, a lot of really cool movement. If you know what isotopic is, like the chat or whoever know what isotopic is, it's 2.5 D, so it's not quite 3D, but it's not 2D. It makes the movement super, super interesting. I really recommend checking those out if you haven't.
I honestly didn't even realize they had released Sonic on that platform.
Oh, yeah.
Or sorry, Spyro.
Yeah.
I'm thinking ahead on the next run.
You're good.
Yeah.
Very excited for the next run, by the way.
Yeah, next run's going to be great.
Super cool. I was like, what? I didn't even know it was a thing.
Someone mentioned in chat Killer Instinct Game Boy, and I'm so glad that they did, because I literally was just telling someone this yesterday. Killer Instinct I actually got into because of the Game Boy version as a kid. Like, that was the one I had. And I know it's kind of silly, but like that's the only way I can understand that game, because there's only 2 buttons. So I played that version so much. So yeah, I would love to see people do Killer Instinct Game Boy.
All right, hold on a second. So I kind of did some weird stuff with the camera here. Hold on 1 second, gamers. That should work. Should work. Okay, we're good. All right, sorry.
No, you're good.
That fight can be very glitchy. Sometimes you can not soft lock necessarily, but you can definitely pause the camera from like fixing itself until you finish the fight. I don't know really why it fixed itself. I never had that happen either. But that fight, it's very, very glitchy. So glad we
I love
finished it.
these enemy names. Con Guardian.
This is also an auto scroller. We don't have too many of these here, but we just have to make sure we kill all these guys before the elevator finishes going up. And there was a fight we were doing earlier where we were on an elevator and I was hitting the enemies into the grinder. I was doing that to actually make the elevator go up faster because that was part of the level. But here, you just have to wait.
You can't. What's a beat 'em up without an elevator scrolling section?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw y'all for a weird loop, kind of towards elevator music and just the soundtrack to some of the Mortal Kombat movies. Do any of you have like a favorite song or like a favorite fight in the movie? There's this one song that I can think of that plays, I want to say when like Jade shows up in Annihilation and is like the coolest. It's like the coolest track. I'm just wondering if you know RDA or I know you didn't see him CMM, but what do you think, chat?
I definitely haven't, don't have like great memory of the music, but I will say in the old Mortal Kombat games, the scene where Johnny Cage is fighting Goro,
Yeah,
it's probably one of the best things I've ever seen.
Iconic.
It's
for
so
sure.
good. Other than that, not too sure about music.
This is just pure pressure to make you watch the movies, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can comment on the game music. I can't.
Sure, yeah,
I can't really comment
let's
on the
talk
movies.
about the game music.
I've always thought that, especially the original Mortal Kombat games, and pretty much all the ones through Armageddon, had really cool and interesting soundtracks. So some of my favorite stuff was stuff like there's the Deadpool in MK2, there's the Street in MK3, Soul Chamber in MK3 is a really cool song, and even the 3D ones like Armageddon have some really awesome pieces.
You made me think of something that the music video they put in Deadly Alliance.
Yes.
You can't
kill me. Yeah.
Immortal.
Yep. Immortal by I think Adema.
Adema, yeah, that is the band.
It's so funny. That is hilarious to me still. I'm like, why?
100%. What do you think, chat?
Their second boss fight with Goro. Goro is actually, fun fact, like probably the best character in the game in terms of just damage output. Busted. When you do arcade speedruns, you'll do it with Goro. Yeah, absolutely busted.
Goro's a character. He has an interesting history because he's like died and then not been dead and then like so many times,
Yeah, he's a pretty cool character. I like Goro.
Yeah, he's cool. He's like I think he's definitely one of the most iconic Mortal Kombat characters. I mean, how can you forget the giant four-armed beast?
Yeah, right.
He's like a prince, right?
He is.
Prince Goro.
He's a. I know they hail from. I want to say. All I know is that he has a presence in Edenia, and I think at one point he is made a prince of Edenia, but I don't really understand how that works, and I could be very wrong.
I know that Shiva is Sindel's bodyguard,
right?
But I'm not sure if that
she's
is
Queen Sindel
before or after like invasion or anything.
Yeah, they have different roles. There's this whole theme in Mortal Kombat 3 of like Shiva is Sindel's bodyguard, but Motaro, the horse, the centaur, is Shao Kahn's essentially like right-hand man and like the leader of the squad. So there's like this tension because those two groups don't get along, and that leads to some things that happen in some of the endings.
Motaro is quite terrifying.
Yeah, he is. He's really annoying too in MK3.
Crazy that he's a playable character, honestly. That is a big model.
Well, it's interesting. This game is it's slightly controversial because Motaro is a not a bipedal character. He is half human, half horse. And for this game, they wanted to make Motaro playable, but his unique sort of structure, I guess, does not really work with the engine. So they did some story hijinks to make it so that he's bipedal in this game, and it's kind of weird. he's not really a horse. He's like horse-like, but he stands on 2 feet.
True. Yeah.
I wonder, did they, like, in any of the fatalities, does he go horse mode, or?
So the interesting thing about fatalities in this game is most Mortal Kombat games, characters have specific fatalities and whatnot. And in this game, they're like, well, we have a bajillion characters. How are we going to do fatalities? And the thing that they came up with for this game is create a fatality. So everybody has the same pool of moves that they can pull from. And based on the combinations that you do, you can make multiple move fatalities that end in different ways. It's somewhat intricate, but ultimately is a bit bland because it's not as character specific. So everybody basically has the same fatalities and the same pool of moves to use for fatalities. Right. They haven't tried it since, but I think at the least it's kind of an interesting idea.
It was definitely
interesting.
It was something they were trying it out for, I think, 2 games maybe. They tried it as their feature. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, it's very funny.
But yeah,
there's so many ways you can end, and there's there are certain moves that link into other categories of moves, or change how the opponent is positioned, so that maybe instead of them being standing up, now you're in a position where you're behind them, and that gives you different moves that you can do. It's very weird.
I can see why they didn't add it back.
Yeah, I mean the main thing is part of the character's identities, for better or for worse, are their finishing moves. That gives a lot of variety and character to your character. So having them all kind of being from the same pool kind of diminishes that a bit. But at the same time, it's kind of well, we have 65 characters. Are we going to do, if we do one fatality for each character, that's 65. Are we going to do 130 fatalities? How is that going to work?
I mean, yeah, I guess that it adds up.
Yeah.
This is the last obelisk that we got to do for the run. All we got to do is collect the fireballs, or these little orbs, blaze orbs.
Blaze orbs.
Yeah.
Is that just is that blaze dandruff?
I think it's called gross, Blaze's essence. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. So.
For anyone who doesn't know, Blaze is kind of this giant lava monster. So he could have shed some lava balls or something.
Like a cat.
yeah. He coughs up a lava ball. He's like Incineroar.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Orb, yeah.
Orb.
Could you give a little description of Raiko? Because I can't really give a great description. He's kind of bland.
So he's a character who they had plans for, and then they kind of just changed. So when Mortal Kombat 4 came around, they decided that they wanted to add a lot of new characters. They were transitioning to 3D models for the first time, and they didn't want to simply include the same characters they did in the past. So although you have characters like Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Liu Kang, there's new ones, and one of those new ones is Raiko, and his ending is very infamous because he doesn't really have any personality in game. He's kind of just one of Shao Kahn's former generals, and now he's Shinnok's general. So he has these ninja star moves, and originally in the initial arcade release of Mortal Kombat 4, the character Noob Saibot was playable instead. And he was kind of taken out and replaced with Raiko, and he kind of got all his moves. So Raiko is a general of Shao Kahn's, but the whole thing with him is that he kind of secretly wants to be the Emperor. He wants to be in control. So his ending is very infamous in the Dreamcast version of Mortal Kombat 4 because he goes through this portal. And the other versions of the game, all his ending is he steps through a portal and the ending is over, and you're like, what just happened? In the Dreamcast version of the ending, he steps through the portal and Shao Kahn's helmet falls on him. So there was all kinds of speculation for years that Rico is really Shao Kahn reincarnated. Rico is Shao Kahn, and I guess the original intent I saw recently, supposedly, is that Rico was designed with the idea that he was a reincarnation of Shao Kahn, who is very much the biggest bad in Mortal Kombat. But for years that led to so much speculation, even on the early internet. I was around during those times, and it was really interesting.
I didn't even know that.
See
That's
people
crazy.
theorize.
Huh.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, and it's funny because he doesn't really have that much personality and
No.
much going on, but he's had so much kind of put on him, I guess, by people. He does appear in the Mortal Kombat X comics and has a fairly large role there, but I'm not as familiar with those.
I'm not too familiar with the storyline as well, but I do know that he does have a bigger role, similar to Havoc in the comics.
Yes, yeah. He's one of those kind of fan favorite characters who he's not really featured much, but people like always just have this affinity for him and want to see him. This is like Serena.
Yeah, this is the last section of the run. We pretty much just have to fight a bunch of these little, they're called Hellspawn, I guess, but they kind of remind me of like little scorpion minions, right?
Yeah, they all look like Scorpion.
They have a very little health, so kicking them will kill them. I want to go in here with, I have a little low health, but it should be okay. This fight that we're going to be entering here after this little thing here is pretty tedious, so we'll see how it goes.
Someone pointed out in chat that, yeah, it was the disc versions that had the helmet ending. I think a lot of people don't really know about MK4 is that the game uses, FMV endings, and that people always want them back. But the arcade version and N64 version render those cutscenes in-game, so they're very different. So people have kind of seen, I think, over the years, depending on what version they played, they've seen very different versions of the same sort of ending, just based on what version they played. Even the Game Boy Color version of MK4, I think, makes an assertion about Rico like being Shao Kahn or something that caused endless speculation. It was literally like a sentence in the Game Boy Color version of Mortal Kombat 4, which is notoriously bad, that caused all this speculation for years.
Do you remember what it was?
It was something like now he is. I honestly, I will look it up real quick because it's. I just remember it being this huge, point of contention in the online community.
Everyone's on the forum, just
Everyone's
rage
like, "What does this sentence mean?" It says, with the battle over and only himself left standing, reached yada yada yada. Yeah, so he says once again, he basically returns back to rule the realm which he left. Once again, as ruler supreme, he continued the attack on Earth as he did when leading the assault in the last Mortal Kombat. So it was asserting that he was Shao Kahn, that he was actually Shao Kahn, and that caused people were going batty over that for literally a decade.
Started a decade-long riot.
Yeah, basically. Like, who is this man?
So this last section is super difficult to explain. I don't fully understand the cycle methods. You pretty much just have to keep hitting the skulls until they go away. Sometimes they go away faster than other times. I feel like sometimes the enemy will do quote-unquote more damage than a fireball will. But it's very inconsistent and very weird and pretty difficult. There's a lot of stuff happening at once. You can die pretty easily, especially with not full health. So I'm trying to play a little safe here. We're going okay here, but
I can't blame you for not really understanding what's going on. It's flaming skulls breathing fire.
They're creepy looking too. I always said that like stuff in games that's not like photorealistic or like modern is generally scarier than the newer stuff. Like that abstract stuff is what really freaks you out. So something like this to me is much more scary than like a very realistically depicted skull. Like it's just freaky looking.
It's also quite the juxtaposition, honestly.
Yeah, it like doesn't fit in with
yeah. All right, there we go.
Nice.
Very nice.
Look at all those treasure chests.
Yeah, if we were doing all treasure chests, you wouldn't have to open them. But since we're not, we just play. All right.
How dare you?
So we finished all of the movement, all the movement stuff, all the run around. We finished it all. We just have our last 3 fights. We have to fight Scorpion, and then we're gonna fight our brother, and then we're gonna have a cutscene.
Yeah.
Scorpion is generally the prototypical character of Mortal Kombat. He's always got a starring role for the most part. Everyone plays him. You know, he's the poster boy.
Oh, he reached. Whoa, that was crazy.
That was pretty impressive.
Scorpion is one of the more annoying fights in the run for sure. Blaze is definitely probably the most difficult one, but Scorpion's probably the next one after that. He can be, all the fights can go pretty tame for the most part, especially if you're decent at 2D fighters. I'm definitely a good example of you don't have to be great at 2D fighters to speedrun them. As long as you can hit the buttons, you should be good. But
they're usually manipulating AI and fighting game
Right,
speedruns
yeah,
in general.
that's
Like
true.
you're kind of just making them kind of walk into whatever you're doing.
1 HP, there we go.
Nice.
All right. So now, can I skip this? Oh, actually, yeah, I can. Okay. We're supposed to have a little showdown with our brother. So the point of Taven and Dagon's existence was to make the world not basically make itself implode. There's too much power, there's too much fighting, and we have to do something about it. And that's what Dagon and Taven's trek was supposed to be, and they were supposed to do it together as brothers, not with bad in their heart. But Dagon got revived probably 500 years before Taven did, and he was revived by I want to say Shinnok. So he's corrupted, so he's a bad guy. He wants all the power for himself, and that's why we have to kill him.
Yep. That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, but it happens,
Yeah.
But now we're going to get a little explanation from the game. The first and only non-skippable cutscene.
There's Blaze. He's Torch from Fantastic Four.
Wow, yeah, he is.
For anyone who doesn't know, Blaze's origin is actually as a kind of Easter egg in Mortal Kombat 2. There's the Pit 2, there's a bridge in the background, and there's these two characters that are fighting each other, and people who played the game started rumors that, hey, you can actually play as those guys, you can unlock them, and they gave the characters different names. One of them was a green Liu Kang, and they called him Hornbuckle. I don't know how that happened. The other one is Blaze, because it was, a character that was on fire, and people called him Blaze, people called him Torch, but for years there were rumors that you could, there was a secret fight where you could become Blaze. And when the 3D MKs rolled around, they included Blaze as a bonus character in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance in this form. And then in this game, he's kind of the big bad of the game. So it's kind of interesting to see how, something like a playground rumor essentially evolved into such a big component of the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
Having a bit of a cough fit, excuse me.
Oh no. It's because of all the smoke that Blaze is
Yeah.
making.
Too hot. Too hot in here.
But you must not let anyone else combat me.
See, they spell combat with a K every time. You can't combat him.
I feel like they can't help themselves at this point. It's so ingrained into the brand that is
Oh, yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Well, it's kind of like Mario Kart too, right? Everybody thinks that the word kart is actually spelled with a K because that's how Mario Kart spells it.
Right.
But it's not.
It's actually with a Q.
Yeah. It's actually with a Q.
Chords.
Yeah.
All right.
Mario Quart.
1 quart of Mario, please. Yeah. Yes, chef. Anyway.
No, thank you.
Here's, I guess.
So the cutscene that was shown at the very beginning of the run, before we even started, when you're starting up the game, you get the nice cutscene, cinematic of what's happening right now. Actually, there's a fight that breaks out in this desert, the good versus the bad. The pyramid shows up, and we're supposed to fight Blaze. Anybody can go and fight him. Whoever fights Blaze pretty much just gets the power of the gods and can do whatever they want. So in this telling of Armageddon, Taven is the one that eventually does beat Blaze and get that power. But in the retelling, in the new Mortal Kombat reboot, it's Shao Kahn.
Yeah. So Mortal Kombat 9 picks up basically at this point in the game where everybody's fighting at this temple, and in Mortal Kombat 9's intro, it's actually depicting Raiden and Shao Kahn facing off for this power, and in Mortal Kombat 9, Shao Kahn wins, and so Raiden sends this telepathic memory or message back to another universe version of himself to try and prevent all this stuff from happening, and that's sort of the basis of that game. And if you watched if you saw any of the intro, I don't remember if any of that was on stream at all, but if you saw any of the intro of this game, it's depicting this whole fight at this temple with everybody kind of trying to get the godly power for themselves.
Like peak video game violence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I want to go back and watch that in the VOD.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. It's pretty
seems
spooky.
very annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, throughout the whole run, this has been the case. But all of the characters that we fight have unlimited amount of breakers. We only have 3 per round. So I've used 2 of them. To make sure I don't have to use more than 1.
Breakers are essentially literally combo breakers. If you hold block and push forward when someone's hitting you with stuff, it'll push them away. But you have a limited number of them, like RDA was saying.
Oop. But they don't. So they can just use it whenever they want.
You're doing something finally? No, you're not.
This is a pretty interesting fight, but that's time. I'm sorry. Super abrupt. I totally forgot to say it.
It snuck up on
Yeah,
us.
it's the timing for Mortal Kombat's usually pretty like specific on when you're playing the game. So it's like right when you start playing and right when the last frame that you hit that last hit is when time is. But there we go.
Thank you so much, RDA. I hope y'all wanted fireworks because I love the way this game ends. Just boom.
That's great.
Do you have any shout outs or comments or anything you'd like to say?
I mean, thank you guys so much for letting me do a run for you guys. This was super fun. I picked up this game to hopefully like be able to show off how quirky and silly this game is. So I'm glad I got to do that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity again. I've been speedrunning for over 10 years now. It'll be 11 in August. So
Let's go.
if you like speedruns, give me a follow. Shout outs to Clay. I met Clay in person for the first time at SGDQ a couple weeks ago, and super awesome guy. The second I got the message, I knew I had to get him in commentary. So thank you again for commentary. Appreciate it.
I greatly appreciate you giving me the invite. I was thrilled. I'm very happy to have been here to hang out with you.
And shout outs to just all my friends, PokeHero64, Buad86, Deathline. You guys are the homies. Shout outs to my partner. He's sitting right behind me. I love them very much.
Hey.
And shout outs to the next runner. It's going to be a super cool run. Trans rights, gay rights, Black Lives Matter.
The quest did nothing to resolve the instability of the realms. But as
Right on. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure if you had any more. I appreciate it. For sure. We love everybody here on GDQ, so I appreciate that a lot. And thank you both so much for being here. I'm going to say it again, but if you haven't followed Rubber Ducky Assassin or CMM1215, you can follow both of them here on Twitch. But before we break, I do want to give a huge shout out to all of our supporters, your subs, Prime subs, gift subs, and bits cheered here on the GDQ Twitch channel do help support the Games Done Quick Hotfix, including with this show, Time Capsule. So please consider subscribing if you do enjoy our daily Hotfix shows. And if you missed out on any of the speedruns from SGDQ 2023 or our recent Juneteenth celebration, make sure you check out the VODs on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/gamesdonequick. Again, thank you both so much for being here. We will be right back with Sonic Project 06, so don't go away. Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to the GDQ Hotfix. I'm your host, Smooth Operative, and you are watching Time Capsule. Now, our next game is a stunning recreation of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, and while it was technically released as a demo in 2019, we like to break the rules sometimes, so please welcome Stelmo98 for an all-stories speedrun of Sonic Project 06. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. As Tippy said, my name is Stelmo98, and welcome to Sonic Project 06. While, yeah, it is based off the original 2006 game, we kind of cheated a little bit, like she said, and I am showing off the silver release demo of Sonic Project 06. If you've never seen this game before, this is a from the ground up recreation. It's not a mod or anything of Sonic Project 06, developed and led by Argentinian programmer Chaos X and a whole bunch of other people that I'll be talking about as we get through the run here. It updates stage layouts. It changes character abilities, improves graphics, basically transforming one of the most infamous games in video game history into one of the best 3D Sonic experiences anyone could ask for, and it's completely free. So I'm really excited to do this run for you guys.
With an introduction like that, I'm ready.
Ooh, me too. So what do you say we get started, I guess?
Yeah, what do you think, chat? Should we start it up?
I mean, I can go. If do you guys want to see it? Do you want to see it? If anyone from my streams here, is there maybe some Stelmopogs we could see?
Okay, there we go.
I see a couple. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Sure, yeah, give us the countdown.
Here we go. All stories Sonic Project 06 in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Now,
Good luck.
Oh, thank you. There are some in-game cutscenes, so I'm going to be try to be quiet during them if I can get through my sentence. All right, looks like Blaze and Silver are ready, so let's get started ourselves. Starting off in this All Stories speed run, we are beginning in Silver's story. If you've never played Sonic 06 before, this was Silver's debut game, and he's a psychokinetic hedgehog from the future, and he's going to go back to the past and try to save his own future from complete destruction. Our opening stage here, Crisis City. We're going to be seeing a whole bunch of crazy stuff with Silver, way too much to go into in just one stage. What you saw me do right there is use this really cool ability called ESP mode, which does a whole bunch of things, but just for right now, I want you to know that it adds a discount to Silver's psychokinesis abilities. One of those psychokinesis abilities that we're going to be seeing a ton is the teleport dash. This is basically, we press A twice and we use up our action gauge, which is the glowy bar in the bottom right, to basically fly as far as we can, as much as that action gauge allows. ESP mode allows us to fly a lot farther, so we're going to be seeing some crazy skips with Silver here. But the fun doesn't stop because Project 06 is an insanely quick game, and we are scooting on over to Blaze here. Blaze is pretty much unchanged from the original game, but we do have one unused ability from Retail 06 put back into our arsenal here, which you just saw as the Crow attack. Even though it looks more like a cat claw, I guess they were just having fun over at Sonic Team when they were naming different attacks for Blaze. So it's called the Crow attack. It doesn't do a whole lot in terms of combat, but it does keep our momentum, which is really nice. Hopping back into some Silver gameplay here. One thing that I do want to note is Silver's Crisis City is the only stage where you start in one section, head to another section, and then go back to the same section you started in. In the game code, the first section for Silver's Crisis City is called Section F1. Then we go to Section B, and then we go back to Section F2, which is pretty interesting. Silver obviously was a much slower character back in the original game, so with this new speed, he destroys some of his stages. I don't know, Tippy, can you believe what you're seeing right now?
I can't, and I'm actually can't help but laugh at Crisis City. Like 100% crisis going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
and Silver's such a cool character. Like, wow.
Yeah. What you're seeing right here is one of the most amazing cutscenes. People were going crazy over this when Chaos released the Silver release. It's a tropical jungle cutscene made by Chaos and the awesome Sonic Pox, who's like an animator who's animated stuff for some different Sonic games and a few other projects on their own. And oh my goodness, it's beautiful. There's going to be a lot more where that came from, so definitely stay tuned if you like cool cutscenes in Sonic games. Off in the tropical jungle here, this is a one-section stage, and in fact, we're almost at the end. Again, Silver just absolutely obliterating these stages with his new prowess in Project 06. I guess going a little bit into what Silver can do outside of just jumping and teleport dashing, he is able to use psychokinesis, and if you've ever played a game called Star Wars The Force Unleashed, which I actually think may have also released in 2006, I'm not entirely sure, for the Xbox 360. You can basically think of it like what Starkiller does in that game. We can pick up objects, manipulate them, set them down, throw them, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to be seeing a lot of those physics as we head into Dusty Desert here. One of the most infamous stages from Sonic 06 because of some billiard balls, which I don't know what business they have being in a desert temple, but I don't make the game. What you saw right there is another ability. It's an upgrade for Silver that you can find in the game called the Psychic Knife. It's an upgraded version of a new ability he has in Project 06 called the Psychic Shot, which is just a projectile he can shoot to stun enemies and hit switches and all that kind of stuff. The Psychic Knife just increases the area of effect, and it goes through enemies, kind of like if you played a Metroid game, Samus's Plasma Beam or something like that. Again, hopping into ESP mode here to use that discounted teleport dash to absolutely fly across the stage. Grabbing a capsule in midair there, that's called a gauge up capsule, which refills our action gauge so we can continue flying since Silver doesn't refill his action gauge in the air. And we're going to switch over to Amy Rose. Again, Project 06 just absolutely knocking it out of the park with its characters and how they play. Amy Rose was absolutely the worst character to play in the original game. She was super slow, had terrible attacks, and was just in general really stiff and clunky to play as. Project 06 fixes that almost completely with some brand new character animations, again made by Sonic Pox and Chaos X, to give her adventure moveset, plus a double jump. We got a hammer jump, we've got a hammer swing, we've got a spinning hammer attack, and all sorts of stuff. And the main complaint that people have with Amy in Project 06 is her section is just not long enough because she is just too dang fun to play as. And in all that time it took to explain her, it's already over, and unfortunately we're not going to see her for the rest of the game as we switch back over to Silver here. I know.
Hello and goodbye.
Yeah, essentially, yes. This game is just so dang fast. But as we move on here, we're just destroying some other enemy waves. What I'm doing there is using a move called the Psycho Shock, which stuns enemies in a radius. And then all I'm doing is pressing the RT button to quickly pick up the enemies and put them down, which immediately destroys them. Using another property of ESP mode right there, it creates a giant ESP blast that destroys all the enemies in the surrounding area. That opens the way to the ball puzzle. Dun, dun, dun. Don't worry about it. The ball puzzle is not nearly as egregious as it was in Retail 06. Chaos did an awesome job fixing up the ball's momentum and physics and all that sorts of stuff. And in addition to that, you can actually hold the ball with your psychokinesis to completely stop it in its tracks. So if it goes flying in a bad spot, like it just did right there, you don't got to worry about it one bit and just get it as it swings right around the hole. Right around the hole. There we go. Straight into there, getting us to the goal ring. 3 stages in already.
Now, Estema, you know so much about this game. Did you play the, I guess, the 2006 version, like on release? Like, what is your experience with that game?
So with Retail 06, which is what I refer to the original game to as to differentiate the two.
Sure, yeah.
Is I played it at the end of 2006 and in 2007, and I thought the game was pretty bad. even when I was younger, it's really easy to see the cracks, even with some rose-tinted glasses on. But me, like a lot of other people, just see the absolute potential that was in Sonic 06, and it takes games like Project 06 to really fully realize that potential that the game had. A lot of people have said and have told Chaos that these are the best incarnations of the characters in 3D ever, even including official media. So that's
amazing.
That's pretty high praise for a Sonic fan game. Dare I even call this a fan game? This is just a straight up video game. It is so fun.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that it's free still blows my mind. You can go download it right now if you want, if I've convinced you yet. But
I'm guessing a quick Google search can find you the correct place to be to get the game.
Absolutely. Just Google Sonic Project 06 Chaos X and you'll be in the right place for sure. If you see any metal music or cool anime trailers, you know you're in the right spot. The lead developer is quite the Dragon Ball fan, which I don't blame him. A very cool series. So
amazing.
Yep. Moving on into White Acropolis here, talking about it a little bit. We just did a quick first section as Blaze there. Nothing too crazy going on. Just a little bit of stuff. We'll talk about her more in her extra stage because she does have a full-length stage all by her lonesome. I guess talking a little bit about the structure of 06 is that each campaign has 3 characters. You got your main Hedgehog, that being Sonic, Shadow, or Silver, and then generally 2 Amigo characters. If you've maybe figured out by now, the two Amigo characters in Silver's story are Blaze and Amy. You're going to be playing as Blaze a lot more, which is really awesome. But again, just so unfortunate that we only get one small section with Amy. But just zooming on right along here, I'm talking over my own words with how fast we're moving, is we're off into Radical Train. Radical Train is one of Silver's shortest stages. We're just going to be using a lot of teleport dashes here. So if there are maybe some questions from chat, if anybody's asked anything yet on what's going on, we're just doing ESP mode and then just double tap an A to just fly across this stage right now.
I think a lot of people are shocked that this is a fan game that exists because of how impressive it is. And with all the changes, making the characters smoother and everything, I'm wondering, do you have a preference in character that you like to, play as in this version?
Every character is so intricate and complex that you can find fun in any of them. It's really hard to pick a favorite because they're all so good.
That's fair.
Sort of a lame answer to the question, but I know, but
no, that's okay.
That's just the truth of it. I have positives to say about every character in this game.
Someone was wondering how long you had been playing it. I'm assuming you probably played this 2019 when it came out.
I did. I was able to get my hands on Demo 1, which just contains Sonic's Kingdom Valley and Sonic's Wave Ocean, and play it from there. I didn't start speedrunning it, though, until 2021 when the Shadow release came out. It featured all of Sonic and Shadow stages. Pretty appropriate here as we're playing as the Hedgehog right now. Yeah, I've been speedrunning it for about 2 years, and it's just been an absolute blast and been streaming quite a bit as well. So definitely a fun time to speedrun as well as being an absolutely insane game casually as well. Hopping into Silver Aquatic Base here. Silver, unlike the other 2 Hedgehogs, has probably the biggest difficulty spike in the entire game. When you go from Radical Train to Aquatic Base, that's when stuff starts getting serious. These next 3 stages are quite a bit longer, and they have a lot of harder tricks going on here. Again, using ESP mode, it's such a cool ability. There's so much going on here. We're going to see another bit of ESP mode's benefits is that we're just going to run into these enemies, and it's going to automatically stun them for us. No Psychic Slap or Psycho Shot or Psychic Shot. My goodness. Sometimes these abilities are a little bit hard to say. There's so many.
You are a true Sonic speedrunner. You're talking so fast, too fast for your own self.
Yeah, I gotta keep up with the game. And
I love it.
Even then, it's hard to. But continuing on here in Aquatic Base, Section 1 wrapping up. There isn't too much going on. We're just going to do a quick teleport dash over here, using that ESP blast once again, destroying all of those enemies, and then using a little ability called the Grab All, which grabs all of the stunned enemies in a giant radius around Silver. Doing a quick restart there because I want Silver to be out of ESP mode. One really interesting quirk of ESP mode, as you can see, it's governed by that red meter that's underneath my big glowy action gauge. That's called the maturity meter. And while ESP mode is active, you cannot charge, you cannot extend its duration at all. So I have to be very careful with when I activate ESP mode because I need to make sure that I have it for as long as I need it for. So that restart there takes us out of ESP mode, and then we can charge it up again with all of those enemies rather than wasting those precious energy cores to power up ourselves. Moving on here, we're just going to hit these 2 magnetic poles. A fun gimmick of Aquatic Base. There are these magnetic poles around the game, around the stage, sorry. that just destroy all the enemies in the surrounding area. Seeing some 2D there. I didn't know I was playing Sonic Colors or something like that. Not sure why Chaos added that. I thought this was a 3D game. But anyway, Chaos...
Full of surprises.
Right. As is probably evident, Chaos has added a whole bunch of new camera changes just to make some sections a little bit easier. Those laser gates can be kind of hard to see when you're looking at the character from behind, so he put it to the side just to make it a little bit easier for the player, which is very nice. Hopping into Kingdom Valley here. Oh, we got a cutscene.
Let's get to Elise right away. Leave it to me.
Sonic's so fast after that cutscene, he just vanishes into oblivion. Hopping into Kingdom Valley here. This is Silver's hardest stage and is probably the most punishing stage in the game. The reason for that is with the route we are taking, there are no checkpoints. So if we take a dip in the water there, it is back to the beginning with us, which we definitely don't want to do. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of risky stuff here because unfortunately, it's one of those stages where if you play it safe, you go really slow. If you play it risky, you go really fast. There isn't really much in between here. So we're going to be doing some crazy stuff as we run through with Silver here, using that Psychic Knife again. Destroy all those enemies to get maximum duration on our ESP mode here, as we're about to do a death-defying trick. We have to let our action gauge, blow up all the way there, or grow. Oh my goodness, words. We have to let our action gauge fill up all the way there, because if it is not completely full, we can't make that teleport dash, which is pretty crazy. But grabbing that eagle under 1 minute is a very good time for Kingdom Valley here. Now, don't worry. If Silver's your favorite character, I am not, sending him to his doom. What Chaos did here is he made the trigger to switch to different Amigo characters massive, so we can just kind of chuck Silver into the void there and then switch over to Sonic as we do his little section in Kingdom Valley. Since Silver was the newcomer in Retail 06, they wanted to throw Sonic and Shadow into his story, just so you could get used to him and stuff. What I'm doing right here with Sonic is called Castle Skip. This isn't the only time we're going to be seeing it, but I know people who watch the streams like throwing their Stelmo Pogs out when we do that. And once again, we're just going to chuck Sonic into the void here and just switch right on over to Silver, telling us that we did a good job. I don't know if sending Sonic the Hedgehog to his doom is necessarily the best thing for a Sonic the Hedgehog game, but it works for us all the same. Finishing up Kingdom Valley here, we're just going to do a couple psychic shots, which is going to destroy this tower. Our ESP mode running out just at the right time for all of those energy cores to collect into Silver, which means we'll have one more activation of ESP mode in order to do this ESP blast as we head on over to the end of Kingdom Valley here. Just one blast, destroying all those enemies, and booyah, we are finished. Only a couple more stages left in Silver's story.
Has Sonic been at the end of every result screen?
No, he's only.
Oh, okay.
He's only. He's only. Silver and
wait a minute.
Silver and Sonic go through Kingdom Valley together.
Okay,
So,
fair.
Yeah, just a cool little thing, because in the original game, the other characters that are supposed to be kind of going with the character you're playing as just vanish into thin air. So it's,
Oh yeah, that's a nice touch then.
oh, there are little details all over Project 06, which is, it just makes it all the cooler. It's like finding little details in your favorite movie or TV show. Chaos definitely shows that he is quite the Sonic fan with this game, and I don't blame him. Sonic games are pretty fun. Moving on.
Now, does the dev interact with the community a lot?
Oh, absolutely. Chaos is actually in my streams quite frequently. As he
awesome.
talks about different things he's patching for the game. There's actually a patch for the Silver release coming out pretty soon, where he's going to add a lot of cool new stuff and make some bug fixes and that kind of thing. Because he has very high standards for the game, and I don't blame him. It's definitely paid off. In Flame Core here, you're seeing me do some crazy stuff with some badnik bouncing. If you played the original game, you know Silver normally can't spin jump. I know I'm a little late getting to it, but one of the upgrades that Silver can grab in his story called the Lotus of Resilience allows him to do the spin jump. And the badnik bouncing in Project 06 is some of the best badnik bouncing in the entire series. So you're going to be seeing it a lot more in the other Hedgehog stories as well. Doing a quick ESP blast here, going to destroy all those enemies. Going to do a quick Psychic Knife to take care of that Iblis Lizard there. Then pick up that guy, chuck him into the other one, and now we have ESP mode for the rest of Section 1 of Flame Core. And we're going to get a pretty cool visual shot here as we head to the end of Section 1. Let's see. What else can we talk about? Oh, I know what I want to talk about. So what you're going to see as we enter section 2 of Flame Core here is there are these runes on the ground that you've been seeing me activate with Silver that either make platforms for us or open doors or that type of thing. In Retail 06, because, you know, they didn't have a whole lot of time to finish the game, these runes had a default position. However, Chaos went in and meticulously went, I think there's over like 35 or 40 runes in the game, and oriented them toward what they activate. Again, just one of those small little details that just really set Project 06 apart from a lot of other just Sonic games in general, official or otherwise. Heading off into section 2 here, we're just doing some platforming. Again, because Silver isn't quite as fast as the Hedgehogs we're more familiar with. He doesn't have quite as lengthy of stages and is a lot more platform heavy. They tend to be shorter. He's going to be our shortest speedrun we're going to see today. Right here, I like to call this guy, I call him Bill, because he keeps us company while that door opens, you know, clenches his fist, trying to attack Silver, but unfortunately we are just way too fast for him. Activating ESP mode one more time here as we attack the core of Iblis, which is our big monster that we're trying to defeat that created this ruined future here. What we're going to do is wait for that shockwave to pass. Then we're going to stand on this platform and do a teleport dash, ride up the collision of that little stalagmite. I think it's stalagmite there. That gets us to the spring on top of the core and destroys Iblis. Well, Iblis's core anyway. We still have to fight him, but unfortunately in the current release of Project 06, there aren't any boss fights. It's only the stages. That is planned for the next release, I think. But that is our final stage with Silver. And but we're not quite done with this story yet. We do have an extra stage. Each Hedgehog story has an extra stage where you play through a section with one of the amigos. And for Silver, it is Blaze in Wave Ocean. Now, if you're familiar with the original game, you know that Wave Ocean's set at daytime. But like how the beginning of Crisis City was set at night, Wave Ocean looks a little bit nice. So I'll just give you a second to take in the absolute prettiness that this stage embodies. As you can see, just some absolutely gorgeous sunrise visuals here as we head through with Blaze. One thing that I want to talk about is that if you played the original game, you know that Blaze has a double jump. In Project 06, there is a move called the Spinning Claw, which was in Retail 06, but it's not mapped to the same button as some of her other abilities like it was. It has its own separate button. And if you do a Spinning Claw in the air after a double jump, it refreshes your double jump. So that means Blaze has a triple jump, making her an incredibly vertically gifted character, allowing us to do some crazy stuff, especially as we're going to see at the end of Blaze's Wave Ocean here. One cool thing that you're going to see in a couple of the stages is that Chaos actually made a bit of his own custom level design because some of the stages in Retail 06 definitely were cut a little short. Blaze Wave Ocean being one of them because she is just such a fun character to play as. So normally what we would do in the original game is go left here and hit the goal ring, but we're actually going to go right and go through all of this level design right here, which is some pretty cool stuff. Definitely not bad about playing more Blaze. She's one of my favorite. Oh, looks like we're going to be playing as her a little bit longer. But she's one of my favorite characters in all of Sonic. Just a very cool idea for a character, and who doesn't love fire powers? So gonna take a quick shortcut here, and then we're gonna manipulate some of the terrain, get a slope jump off of jumping against that wall, which allows us to do a Batnik bounce, and which takes us straight to the goal ring, and that's Silver's story. My goodness, I'm like half a sentence ahead of everything I want to say.
You really are. Gosh, I'm blown away. Like, I don't know how you're going to top this. Like,
oh man, well, get ready because that was the shortest one.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm ready we're doing Sonic next.
Yep, Sonic's up next. I should have said in the beginning we're going Silver, Sonic, Shadow.
Okay.
The easiest way to explain things, and Silver's, the newcomer here, so I figured we want to show him off first. Heading into Sonic's campaign, there is a lot to talk about with this guy. If you played Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2, you're really going to like his moveset because instead of having basically no physics or momentum like in the original game, Chaos meticulously went and studied the Sonic Adventure 1 and Adventure 2 code to sort of recreate the Sonic Adventure physics in Sonic Project 06, which make these levels insanely fun to play because that regarded by many, including myself, as some of the best 3D Sonic has ever controlled. So we're going to see the bounce attack in full force here. We're going to be seeing homing attacking, spam dashing, all that kind of stuff. But additionally, we have these 8 custom abilities that are only in Sonic 06 and by extension Project 06 called the gems. Each one augments Sonic's abilities in a different way. You saw the blue gem as we were going through Wave Ocean there. That's the one we're going to be seeing the most. In addition to the purple gem, which is a gem that grants us the ability to have extra jumps, we're going to be using those 2 the most. But additionally, as you've already seen, there's a gem called the Rainbow Gem. It was an unused ability in Retail 06. They didn't have time to fully integrate it. So Chaos fully integrated a fully playable Supersonic into Project 06. So if you like Supersonic, I'd say you're going to like Sonic's campaign. Unfortunately, Supersonic, to kind of balance him out a little bit, he did not allow you to switch to other gems while you have the Rainbow Gem and Supersonic active. So what we do instead is we wait until we get to one of these mock speed sections, which control infinitely better than they did in the original game. You have full 3D, you have full mid-air movement, you have full ground movement. There are a couple of abilities that you're not going to see me use, hopefully, that allow you to slow Sonic down in case he's going too fast for you. But the great thing is that Supersonic, if you are Supersonic before you enter a mock speed section, you get to do the mock speed section with Supersonic, and he is insanely fast compared to his base form. So hopefully I've showcased that well in Wave Ocean's mock speed section here. We got 3 more of these, so we're going to be seeing this golden boy quite a bit, at least hopefully. You do have to have 50 rings in order to transform into him, so if I maybe take a pot shot before we get to a mock speed section, we might not see him, but hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll be able to see him quite a bit throughout this story, and that completes Wave Ocean.
So shiny.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be seeing a lot of, we're going to be seeing every single gem in this speedrun. I have designated at least 1 spot for each one. But if anybody has some questions or if anything you want to comment on Smooth Operative, if you'd like to, this is a great time to do it. This is one of the princess stages where basically we're playing as a nerfed Sonic. All we can do is use the anti-grav slide, really, which, contrary to its name, allows us to actually be affected by gravity. Like, we move faster when we go down slopes. But anyway, I'll turn it over to you if anyone has any questions or anything.
Sure, yeah. Well, chat, if you do have any questions, feel free to weigh in. I'm kind of curious, Stelmo, like, what are some of the games that got you into speedrunning as a hobby?
Sonic Project 06.
Oh, is this your first speed game?
Technically, no. I did play Super Metroid. I am I'm not afraid to shill. I'm a huge Oats and Goats fan. I have seen him. I know he's well known around the speedrunning community, especially GDQ stuff. I've been watching him since forever. And my first GDQ run that I saw was in 2013, which was him and I think Sweetnum doing a Super Metroid race. And I started speedrunning Super Metroid. But in terms of serious speedrunning, Project 06 is basically the only game I play.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't have to ask what viewer could expect from a Stelmo stream. I'm assuming this is the bulk of it.
This is what you get, with maybe a few more memes and puns thrown in there as well.
Sure, yeah.
Like one, I'm sure there's a bit of a copy pasta that my chat likes to do when we get into White Acropolis here, so I'll let them take care of that and save you all the spiel on that one. But moving on to another gameplay style. They just really threw Sonic in basically every single scenario. This is the 4th and final gameplay style he has in Project 06. This is Snowboard Sonic. Works very similarly to the Sonic Adventure 2 snowboard, except that because of the terrain, fun fact, White Acropolis Section A here is actually terrain that was outsourced. Sonic Team did not create this. And it kind of shows. It's a bit bumpy and there's not really super amazing, awesome collision going on. So what Chaos decided to do, that in the event you get stopped by some of the weird collision on the snowboard, he added this little kick move that you would see maybe someone use on a skateboard to allow us to just go max speed right there. But other than that, we pretty much do tricks just like we did in Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I am going to continue my rant here in Section 2 of White Acropolis because you're going to see a fun little trick I like to call phasing through walls. Obviously, nothing's ever named that before. We're just going to hug this laser gate and then homing attack the enemy across from it. A little bit of an oversight in the silver release because the homing attack range was increased for Sonic and Shadow in this demo. Is the homing attack ignores collision. So if you can see an enemy on the other side through a semi-permeate surface like those laser gates, you're able to homing attack to the other side of it, which is what we did there, completely skipping Tails' section. But don't worry, he's got a full-length stage we'll be seeing at the end of Sonic's campaign here. So if you're a big fan of Tails like I am, don't worry, we got you covered.
Be late. You're talking to me?
Little cutscene teasing that Sonic and Shadow go through this stage at the same time here. Crisis City is our second and final snowboard section here. And there's one thing, if the chat could help me out on this, I know people who are normally in my stream and stuff, like definitely help chat out. There's a little trick we like to do. It's totally faster, definitely doesn't lose time at all, but it's just something real cool that Chaos deliberately left in Project 06 just because of how fun it is to do. As we're coming up here on it, if you're familiar with snowboarding tricks and stuff, I think you're gonna like it. Let's get the 360! Whoo!
Let's go.
Yes, you can. You do have full midair control while you're on the snowboard there. But the swag doesn't end there because Sonic also likes to go down these slopes backwards as well. Just kind of showing off the prowess of how well designed the physics are in Project 06. What you expected to happen would happen. Sonic going down backwards on the snowboard as we enter Crisis City Section 2 here. This is a crazy stage. There's going to be a whole lot going on, and we're going to be using a lot of Sonic's blue gem here to give us a short burst of speed to just make us go really fast through this section. Now, one thing I want to talk about with Project 06 is that it's an incredibly forgiving speed game. There's lots of checkpoints throughout there, just like the one I passed, so I'm going to go through for this trick once, and looks like we got it. Very nice. So what I did is I used the blue gem, and there was a little outcropping on the side of that platform there, and I used that outcropping to get a very slight slope jump, which gave me just enough distance to homing attack that rail on the other side, which is pretty crazy that that's something you can even do in this game. What we're doing right here is I'm outpacing these energy cores and switching to the purple gem because the gems can actually be leveled up in this game. Each gem can be leveled up 3 times, each level enhancing its ability, and it takes 3 energy cores to level up a gem. Those enemies give us 3 energy cores, so I have to switch to the purple gem fast enough that when those energy cores fly into Sonic, we can actually have them be in the purple gem, so we get 2 jumps there and can skip some level design. Here we go into Section 3, probably one of my least favorite parts of the game. Oh, goodness. So, looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing Supersonic in this next Mach Speed section, but that's okay. Showing the forgiving nature of Project 06, there was a checkpoint right where we had to do that big, scary trick. But it's all good now as we go with regular Sonic here into the Crisis City Mach Speed section. One thing I want to talk about in the Mach Speed section that maybe you've seen me do a little bit, maybe you've caught on to it, is that there's actually a thing called the homing attack refresh in Project 06. This is something exclusive to this game. I've never seen any other Sonic game have it. Is that for Sonic and Shadow, if you do a jump dash, which is when you press the A button again in the air with nothing to lock onto to do a homing attack, you can actually do Sonic and Shadow's air action. For Sonic, it's the bounce, and for Shadow, it's the Chaos Spear. And that will refresh your ability to do a second jump dash, which greatly extends the range of what we can do. And when I was talking about that trick where I used the blue gem to get a slope jump, I actually did a homing attack refresh to get enough distance to homing attack onto the rail on the other side. Pretty crazy stuff. Additionally to that, actually, I want to do that before we go into the next stage here. There's some customization options in Project 06. Most of them are cosmetic, but one of them you can change is the jump dash type. The jump dash type you're seeing me use, which only affects Sonic and Shadow, is the Legacy jump dash. And the reason that we use it is that it preserves direction, which you're going to be seeing later in the game. What I wanted to do in the customization options here is I'm going to switch the spin effect to Sonic Adventure for the rest of Sonic's story. There are just different like cosmetic effects you can do, and now we have the Sonic Adventure spin ball and the Sonic Adventure sound effects, which is pretty cool.
That's such a nice touch. Yeah,
a fun little detail. Again, there is just so much love and passion poured into this project. It's impossible sometimes just to not look at it in awe, which is how cool some of this stuff is. Heading on,
for sure.
Oh yeah. Heading on into Flame Core here. Flame Core is my favorite stage in Sonic's story, probably the entire game. Can't lie and say that it's not hard carried by the music. Both sections are just absolutely insane in terms of the soundtrack. Though I would say it's not really a hot take that 06 had amazing music, and Project 06 basically doesn't touch the soundtrack at all. Not that it really needed to. But we're just going to be seeing more blue gem and purple gem movement as we head through the rest of Flame Core here. So if there are any questions, I want to make sure that I have ample time to answer them. So
For sure. I was kind of wondering, like, how has the speedrun of Project 06 evolved for you since you first started? Was it difficult at first? Like, how has your learning experience been with this game?
Project 06, while it is a very forgiving speed game, it's one of those games that's very easy to learn but incredibly difficult to master. I may be making some of this stuff look easy, but I promise you, and this isn't me saying like I'm better than anybody, I'm just saying that it's not. Especially gem switching. It's one of the hardest skills to learn when you're speedrunning Sonic's story, especially if you're like me and you run with all the gems, because I should have mentioned, to find the gems in this game, they're actually scattered around all of Sonic's stages in some pretty clever hidden spaces. So I guess you could call this a new game plus run technically, but that's probably one of the hardest skills to learn, and it's really just practice. The more you practice, the better you play, which I would say rings true for a lot of speedrunning.
Oh, absolutely. Now, it sounds like this is maybe easy to approach, but difficult to master. And you were talking about the gems, too. Somebody earlier asked, what does the blue gem do?
The blue gem, like I had mentioned, is a short burst of speed. So each gem actually has like a name to its action that it does. And you can see it right there. It's called, I believe it's called Mach Speed. All I do is I press the right trigger on my Xbox 360 controller, and it just gives Sonic a boost, as you can see right there. And as you level up the gem to level 2 and level 3, that boost lasts longer and uses less of your action gauge, so you can use it more often. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. The fun just does not end in Sonic Project 06 as we move on into Sonic's Radical Train. Again, going to be seeing a lot more of the blue gem and purple gem. Don't worry. If you're fans of the other gems, we will be seeing those later. One of the gems that I do want to highlight, as I just mentioned, they all have different like custom names to each of the actions they grant Sonic. And I have to make special mention to the Sky Gem because the move that you get for the Sky Gem is called the Gun Drive, which I think is just a really cool name. Even though it really doesn't describe what the Sky Gem does at all, it's basically like an Ender Pearl from Minecraft, except you get to keep the momentum that you get between the travel points, which is kind of interesting. I will be showing off the Sky Gem a little bit later as well, if you're more curious if that explanation didn't quite do it for you. But I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool name. Thankfully, being able to actually play as Super Sonic in this next Mach Speed section here. Another thing that is pretty, I would say very Chaos X in design is that Super Sonic, like Silver when you go into ESP mode, actually has an area of effect blast. So what I did right there is I transformed into Super Sonic in a very specific spot in order to destroy those enemies with the blast and open that cage that activated the switch immediately. Here we go. I don't know what Eggman put in this train to be able to outrun a Mach Speed light dashing Super Sonic. Because I should say the light dash is in this game and in Mach Speed sections, it's the fastest form of movement. But he outruns this guy somehow, and I have no idea how that's even possible.
That blows me away, like 100%. I don't get it.
But one thing I want to make mention, again, just another really cool detail. If you played Sonic Adventure 1 in the final boss fight, Tikal, who's one of the characters in that game, mentions that when Super Sonic is moving fast enough, he turns into a lightning bolt, and that was represented by blue aura. When you're light dashing with Super Sonic in the Mach Speed sections, he has a blue aura wrapped around him, turning into a lightning bolt, in quotes, I would say. Next stage here, Tropical Jungle, another Sonic and the Princess stage. One thing I do want to talk about with these stages is that I think they're the most underutilized in the game. Sonic 06, for its many faults, one of them wasn't Sonic's level design in his stages specifically. And Tropical Jungle and Dusty Desert that we went through earlier are both proof of that. There's so many multiple pathways. There's high routes, bottom routes, left route, right route, all different ways you can approach these sections. But it stumbles just a bit because we're playing as Sonic and the Princess, and it would have been so much more fun to be able to use all of Sonic's abilities in these stages, but we can take what we can get as these stages are still fun to run through. We do have one more section of Tropical Jungle, so if there are any other questions, Smooth Operative, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, we brought up the Mortal Kombat movies earlier in the show for Armageddon, and I'm kind of curious, like, did you see the Sonic movies that came out, the past couple of years? What your opinions are of those?
I didn't see the Sonic movies, and I quite enjoyed them. I would definitely say Sonic 2 is better than Sonic 1, kind of the normal first movie gets the franchise off the ground, whereas the sequel kind of runs away, with all the elements and fan service and all that type of stuff. I would definitely say if you're interested in Sonic the Hedgehog as a character, game series at all, taking a little death there, but nothing too bad.
Yeah, no worries. I did see both Sonic movies, and I enjoyed them quite a bit. Chat, what do you think of the movies?
What was your favorite moment from either movie?
It's gonna sound really silly, but there's a moment in the first movie where, like, I don't know, Sonic blows up or like runs into something, and James Marsden's character is just like, Sonic.
What are you doing, man?
That's my wildly specific moment that I like from the first movie.
Oh, I get you for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's those little moments that really show a lot of characterization and stuff for sure. I'll be quiet here because we got another cutscene.
Let's get to Elise right away. All right.
Showing again, we got Silver and Sonic working together in Kingdom Valley. Probably the poster stage for Sonic 06. This was used in a lot of pre-release material back in 2005. I know there was a Tokyo Game Show demo that had the first section that we're playing through right here. In addition, there was an E3 demo and an Xbox Live Arcade demo that showcased this stage with this full Section 1 integrated as well, which is some pretty cool stuff. When 06 released, the actual consensus was that Crisis City was the best stage in the game, which is partially why it was in Sonic Generations. But over time, and especially with Project 06, Kingdom Valley has kind of rose into the ranks of being the fan favorite stage. I guess I got to ask you, Smooth Operative, what is your favorite stage in this game that you've seen so far?
I really liked the kind of tropical ocean one that you went in.
The last one we played?
Yeah, what was it called? Ocean
Tropical
something?
Jungle? Or do you mean Wave Ocean? The one with like
Wave
the beaches
Ocean.
and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, the one at the beaches. I couldn't help but think of the beach level that you play in Mario Kart 64. Like, it just kind of gave me the same...
Maybe? It's been so long since I played.
I know, it's been a while since I've played.
Mario Kart 8 guy for sure.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to play you in Mario Kart 8. I will rage too hard, but... But I love the beach, so any beach level in a game, yes, sign me up.
Oh, absolutely. Beach levels are great, and especially in Project 06, we saw in Blaze's Wave Ocean that we got to play it as sunrise. In Sonic's Wave Ocean, we got to play it at daytime. There actually is one more time of day we're going to be playing Wave Ocean, and that's something cool that Chaos X did on a lot of the stages in this game, is kind of change their weather effects or change their, like, just how they look in the game, and it adds a lot of diversity, considering that at the end of the day they are just kind of remixed versions of each other in each Hedgehog story, because as you can kind of see, we are going through, in fact, the same exact set piece here with Sonic that we did in Silver's Kingdom Valley, doing Castle Skip once again there. But we unfortunately can't throw Sonic into the abyss. We do have to play through the rest of the section. So I do want to talk about right here, if you're fans of more gems, here is the yellow gem. It activates the Thunder Shield. This works basically like Sonic Adventure, except it's tied to your action meter. And right there, I switched real quickly to the red gem, which, while being amazing in Retail 06, as it have the speed of everything except for Sonic, it actually has the speed of everything, including Sonic, in Project 06. That was just kind of Chaos's way of balancing the red gem, because you could pretty much easily cheese all of the S ranks in this game if you just held the red gem from the start of the stage all the way until the end. But yeah, just showing off those two little gems there. I'm sorry if they weren't the showcases you wanted, but that was the best place that I could use them in. Unfortunately and unfortunately. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm having a ton of fun. I hope you guys are as well. How is chat doing? Do you guys like, should I keep playing or are we good? Have we seen enough stages?
Should Stelmo keep playing, chat? What do you think?
What is it?
Chat is
type 1 in chat?
Type 1.
To keep playing.
Chat is moving so fast. I think the fans are out in full force this 4th of July.
This 4th of July. Yeah. Happy Independence Day, everybody. I tried to make my attire as festive as possible for you all.
You are very festive, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I mean, got to celebrate freedom or something, I guess.
Or something, for sure.
We got one more stage in Sonic's campaign here. He does have one extra stage compared to all the rest of the Hedgehogs because, you know, he's Sonic the Hedgehog, so you got to play as him the most in his game. But Aquatic Base is pretty fun. We're going to be playing as Tails and Knuckles. I kind of was a bit oversighted. That sentence didn't make any sense. I kind of overlooked, that's what I was looking for, Knuckles when we played as him in Flame Core, so I'll try to make mention of him here. Unfortunately, he's one of those characters, again, kind of like Amy in Silver Story, where they have a whole bunch going on and are a really cool character, but kind of one of the things that's pretty interesting is that Project 06 is so good that there has been a bit of discourse being like, should this even continue as a 06 like remaster, remake, reimagining, whatever you want to call it? Because the elements that Chaos has added are so good that we just want to play more stages as Amy. We want to play more stages as Knuckles. We want to, play full length stages and all of that stuff. So kind of an interesting thing, and I would say quite a compliment to Chaos X because his game is so good, we just want to play more of it. Moving on with Tails here as I struggle to stand on this pole. I didn't talk about him too much, and we're going to be talking about him more in Tails Wave Ocean, but he does pretty much everything you'd expect him to do. His flight here is in full force. His flight is here in full force. And an interesting thing is that it's actually tied to the action gauge. Now, normally this wouldn't be like that cool because it's like, oh, it's just a flight meter like you'd see in something like Breath of the Wild. But a cool thing is that because it's tied to the action gauge, if we defeat enemies, we can actually refill his action gauge in midair, as you saw right there, and extend his flight time, which is just a really cool little detail and very consistent with all the rest of the characters in the game that allows us to do some cool stuff like what I just did right there. He also has a tailspin, but again, I'll be talking about that more as we get into the next stages here. Switching back to Sonic real quick, again, using the gimmick of Aquatic Base, which is hitting all of those magnetic poles to destroy all those enemy formations, and zoom right on through to Aquatic Base Section 2, where we're going to be seeing more of everybody's favorite Knucklehead. But first, we got to do a quick automation skip here, and I'm going to switch real quickly over to the purple gem as we jump right on over, destroy these enemies with a quick homing attack, and spin dash right under these lasers here. Aquatic Base definitely has some of my favorite music in the game as well. It's kind of interesting that they went the foreboding route since this is Sonic Ultimate Stage in his story, at least story-wise. Tails Wave Ocean, while it is at the end of the list in the trial select, you play it like halfway through the normal story if you were playing Retail 06. Knuckles here. As you can see, we kind of just glide over everything. His gliding has been vastly improved from Retail 06. He no longer drops like a rock. And he actually has some really cool moves associated with him, like he's got different punch and kick, or not kick combos, but different punch combos. So if you liked Mortal Kombat, Knuckles having a little bit of that fighting game spirit in his character. Additionally, he has the drill drive from Sonic Adventure 2, and he's got a move called the screwdriver, which is kind of like the maximum heat Knuckles attack. Right there, you just saw me use our second to last gem, the green gem, which is a area of effect tornado attack. I used an earlier enemy encounter to level it up to level 3 there, so that way I could use it to defeat those enemies really quickly. Finally, I used the white gem, which activates the homing smash, which for all intents and purposes is just a stronger homing attack, able to make quick work of those beefier enemies that were guarding that door. But that's Aquatic Base, finishing off the last we'll actually see of Sonic here. Unless chat's loving it, there is some extra stuff, but don't want to assume anything. Maybe they're not having fun, but I don't know about that. If what you're saying is true, Smooth Operative, I can't see him. But I see y'all. if you're having fun, what is it, Type 1? I think I already used that joke.
You did, but we'll allow it.
Anyway, moving on here into Tails Wave Ocean. Tails Wave Ocean is a stage. It's probably one of the more lackluster ending stages for a story. Again, just because we love Sonic Project 06 so dang much, we wanted to include these extra Amigo stages into the speedrun. So naturally, because it's fastest to go from the top of the list to the bottom of the list in terms of menuing, we do this stage last, which is kind of interesting because it's a fairly easy stage to get through, unlike Blaze's Wave Ocean, where you actually can have some difficulty, especially with the new level design that Chaos added in that stage. Tails can kind of just fly over everything, so this is more of the kind of reflecting on the rest of your run, seeing how well you did, you know, where you messed up, and where you can kind of recoup before you start your next attempt. But talking a little bit about Tails' abilities here before he's off screen forever is he does have the tail swipe and the rhythm badge from Sonic Adventure 1, which is pretty cool to see it again in another game here. Additionally, unique again to Project 06 is an air tail swipe attack. It's really cool, and you saw me use it in Aquatic Base to defeat an aerial enemy and keep my flight going. But additionally, he has these dummy ring bombs, which were in Sonic Heroes and in Retail 06. They're basically just big bombs that explode into a bunch of rings that damage enemies. But that was Tails Wave Ocean and finishing off Sonic's story with a nice little bow with my personal favorite character in the series. How'd you guys like Sonic's story? Was it good?
It was good, and I stand by what I said about Wave Ocean. It's the best.
It is the best, and I think you'll be excited in Shadow's story because there's a little bit of a surprise in his Wave Ocean as well.
All right,
Moving
let's
on
go.
with Shadow. Think of Shadow as a more combat-centric Sonic, but don't take that as he is a slower character. Oh, no, no. We're going to be seeing some crazy fast speed with Shadow. Starting off here in White Acropolis, you can see he does have the spin dash just like Sonic does. And we can just zoom right on down this slope using physics to our advantage here. As we fly off these slopes, we're going to jump up and hit that switch. And then we're going to use a unique ability to him called the Tornado Kick. This ability in Retail 06 was only able to be used while stationary, but it did do a lot of damage. Chaos said nuts to that. We're going to let you use the Tornado Kick on the move. And it is basically the answer to every combat encounter Shadow has. So you're going to be seeing me use that Tornado Kick quite a bit, and it is incredibly fun to pull off well. Moving on over to Rouge here. She can glide just like Knuckles, and she has all of her martial art combos as well, but I'm going to be quiet for this cutscene because it's pretty cool.
I didn't know that you were the agent who failed to infiltrate the location.
Come on, don't underestimate Rouge the Bat. I got in successfully and got the treasure too. I was only a little slow.
All right, there we go. Using a little bit of unused dialogue from the original game. There are a whole lot of unused lines that are sprinkled around Project 06, but that's the main one, just kind of showing Shadow and Rouge being a little bit of friendly, or I guess rival-ish friends. Because they're not necessarily rivals, they're definitely a team, but, you know, just being a little snarky towards each other, and I think it adds a lot of character. Since we don't have the 06 cutscenes in this game, but it's pretty cool stuff. Moving on here, in his final section of White Acropolis, we have to destroy all 5 of these searchlights, which we can do by using the homing attack to climb up the base of the searchlight and then destroying it either with the Chaos Spear or with the homing attack. Real quickly, after the stage, what I'm going to do, like I switched the jump ball type between Silver and Sonic's story to the adventure type, there's actually an Adventure 2 spin ball as well. And since Shadow debuted in Sonic Adventure 2, I figured he would be the most appropriate to use it in. So we're going to hop over to the extras menu and switch that spin effect on over to Sonic Adventure 2, and then hop right back in where we left off, into Kingdom Valley. Now, one of the things that is a gimmick for Shadow's story is that he can be in 4 different vehicles. In the speedrun, we're only going to be seeing 3 of those 4 vehicles, but one of them is the hang glider. These hang glider sections are basically you don't even have to hold forward. It just flies forward by itself, and double tap A every 3 seconds. So chat, if you could help me out the next time we see that hang glider section, if you all could count to 3 for me, just so I remember when to boost with Shadow, that would be much appreciated. Moving on into section 2 here with Rouge the Bat, we are going to do some treasure hunting. While in Retail 06, the treasure hunting was locked to specific locations, Chaos actually re-added in the radar and the key randomization in certain sections we played as Rouge. They're not in every section we play as her, but it kind of just adds a little bit of replay value as the keys can be in very different locations in these small little treasure hunting sections. Thankfully, they're not nearly as large as something like Mad Space from Sonic Adventure 2, but they're definitely a fun little thing that I definitely don't feel upset playing through. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the treasure hunting stages in Sonic Adventure 2, Chaos had a really nice balance of letting us get a move on while also having a little bit of variety in each shadow run we do. Moving on here to the second of the 3 vehicles we're going to be seeing is Shadow's hover car. This one, kind of like the hang glider, is hold forward and turn when we need to. But there's actually something really cool that I'm going to show off in this section, a little bit of an Easter egg. So if you don't want to be spoiled and play Project 06 yourself, close your eyes right now. I'll let you know when to open them back up. But if we head into this tunnel here and destroy these enemy formations, if we take a look through this gate, we can actually see Chaos Zero sit right there in front of Shadow. A custom model. I believe it's based off of his Forces model, but there he goes. He fades into the distance. Just, again, killing it with the details. Chaos X always does. And
So cool.
And having Chaos Zero there is just, I don't know, just a fun little thing. Kind of interesting that he's in Shadow's story and not Sonic's story, but, you know, it's a cool enough Easter egg that I guess I'll let it slide. But you can open your eyes now if anyone didn't want to be spoiled on that. Moving on into section 3 here with Shadow. This is just showcasing his platforming prowess. We're going to be manipulating some of the terrain here in order to get some crazy slope jumps to skip some stuff. But while we're going through this, I'm going to be talking about the Chaos Spear. So the Chaos Spear is Shadow's air action. And as you can see, you have up to 3 Chaos Spears you can do. Now, a beta element from Retail 06 that didn't make it into the final product that was added into Shadow's moveset is something we call spear bounces. After we use a Chaos Spear, Shadow will bounce up a short distance in the air, and he does that same spear bounce every Chaos Spear he does. Now, an interesting thing, as I mentioned, the homing attack refresh, is that you can do a second homing attack after you Chaos Spear. So it actually allows us to gain a little bit of height and do some crazy tricks and skips later in his story. But an interesting thing to make note of is that in order to do the homing attack refresh, you have to have an extra Chaos Spear. So you can only do up to 2 Chaos Spears before you lose your homing attack, which is pretty interesting. But moving on into the end of Kingdom Valley here, again, we're going to have an enemy formation that's just going to get utterly decimated by the tornado kick here. There they are, and there they go. And then doing a quick light dash, which he retains from Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes, straight into the goal ring. Again, if Shadow's got combat, the answer is the tornado kick in most situations. Now, if you're wondering, Stummo, I've seen this action gauge sitting in the bottom right in the entirety of Shadow's story so far, and you haven't used it yet. What does it do? We're getting there. Or we're not going to see it quite yet as we head into Crisis City.
Shadow, don't be late. You're talking to me?
Seeing the reverse little cutscene there as Sonic and Shadow kind of smack talk each other, seeing who can go through Crisis City the fastest. We actually get to play as Shadow with no snowboard in sight in Section 1 here. So we're really just going to let the physics kind of take Shadow all the way down. Of course, we want to be spin dashing because, as is common in most Sonic games, if we are rolling down slopes, we're going to gain a lot more speed. An interesting thing here is the buggy, which is the vehicle we're not going to be seeing in Shadow's story just because it's slower in every instance that it's usable, was here in the first version of the Shadow release demo. But everyone skipped it and just used the spin dash to go down this slope. So Chaos decided to remove it. He didn't think it was necessary to be in that section. Additionally, I should mention that Shadow has the spin dash. Kind of weird to say, but he did not have the spin dash in Retail 06. I don't know if they were trying to make him more different from Sonic, but thank goodness it has been re-added back into Project 06 because it is super fun to use it with him and makes him a really fast character. Heading on into Section B here, this is going to be some familiar territory, except with one new little trick called cage dashing. what I did right there is I ran up the side of that cage. And because that cage is a 90-degree surface, we can get an insane amount of height off of it, depending on the speed that you get when you go into the cage right there. And what I did use, something that I didn't mention in Sonic's story, is that the spin kick, or the tornado kick in Shadow's case, actually preserves momentum. So if you remember in Kingdom Valley when I was going up that big slope and doing tornado kicks, that was to preserve the speed of the dash panel that Shadow hit beforehand. And if we preserve that speed onto the cage, we can get some insane height, as we're going to see in his next stage here. But just moving on through, seeing the section that we skipped with Sonic, because unfortunately Shadow doesn't have access to the gems, but he can still go through it pretty quickly, utilizing that Badnik bouncing and a couple homing attacks, coming in right behind Sonic here in terms of time in this section. Next up, we've got Section 3, which is the hardest section in the game, just like Sonic's story, where what we're going to do is we're going to hold up with the hang glider, and I need you guys to help me count to 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can kind of fly above that entire section. The kill plane isn't low enough to actually end Shadow's game there. So yeah.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah, it's the flight simulator, quite literally. Just don't hold anything and press A every 3 seconds. But moving on here, we're actually seeing a bit of a different section, not a Mach speed section for Shadow. This is the entirety of Section F of Crisis City. I'm a little late to explaining this. Also, we got hit by a truck that comes out of the tornado sometimes. That's called Troll Truck. A little bit dangerous if you don't have any rings, but thankfully we did. So nothing too much to worry about there. But I completely forgot. Oh, Section F. In Sonic 06, each section of the stage is labeled by what stage they are by an acronym. So for Crisis City, its acronym is CSC. And then the sections are labeled in alphabetical order. So Crisis City actually has 5 sections. One of them is unused, A, B, C, D, E, and F. That's 6, actually. But there's 5 that are used in the game. And this is the entirety of Section F rather than it being broken apart, kind of like Silver's story here. But that finishes up Crisis City. Moving on next into Flame Core, and we're going to stay in some pretty familiar territory if you guys remember from Sonic's story here. Flame Core is pretty much identical in structure to Sonic's story, except we're going to be seeing Shadow's Chaos Boost ability, which is his unique ability that uses the action gauge in the bottom right of the screen there. But firstly, what we got to do is we're going to be setting up another cage dash. As we jump over here, we're going to spin dash, do a spin kick, and gain a huge amount of height as we completely bypass that enemy formation and then hit that gauge up capsule, which completely fills our action gauge to maximum and activates Chaos Boost. Chaos Boost, like many other things in Project 06, has 3 levels. In Flame Core, we're only going to be seeing level 1, which is Chaos Snap here. What it does is it basically changes Shadow's homing attack and turns it into a teleportation between enemies if we just hold the A button. What you just saw me do right there is I didn't want to spoil it, but this is level 4. This is called Uninhibited Mode. If you remember the ending cutscene of Shadow's story in Retail 06, Shadow took off his inhibitor rings and unleashed his ultimate power against his villain, which is Mephiles. And we actually get to play as it in Project 06. If you fill up to level 3 Chaos Boost and have your maturity meter, which again is the red gauge underneath the action gauge, if that is full, you can press D-pad up on your controller as well as RT, and you activate Uninhibited Mode, which which basically overcharges Shadow. All of his Chaos abilities are just turned up to 11, and in addition to that, he's completely invincible and destroys any enemy he touches in one hit. There is a drawback, though. If you run out of action gauge while you are in uninhibited mode, Shadow will falter and kind of have to regain his power for about 6 seconds. But the nice thing that Chaos did is that if you are in automation, you can bypass that 6-second penalty. So what I did there is I timed it so that uninhibited mode would run out while we were in that automation to go into the volcano, into Section 2. So that way we don't have to take the penalty and just play as base Shadow as we head through the rest of Flame Core here. Moving on from that, we are going to jump right into Ruse's section, which is the exact same as Knuckles' section. We're just going to hit 5 orbs, which is going to open the doors. So if maybe there are any questions, Smooth Operative, this would be a good time to ask them, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, how big is the speedrunning community for Project 06, and are they supportive of new runners? Like, how might someone go about getting into a run like this for the first time?
Absolutely. So kind of a cool thing is the retail speedrunning Discord and the P06 speedrunning Discord are merged. So there actually are quite a few runners, a lot more that have joined since the silver release came out. And it's super fun. I would say there's maybe about 10 to 15 active runners, including myself. And it's just a great time. Super welcoming. Everyone's happy to help you with any tricks or any knowledge that they know, myself included. So if you're interested in joining the speedrunning community, highly recommend joining the P06 one. It is a whole lot of fun.
Awesome. Have you made a lot of friends like throughout the process?
Yeah, I guess I can do some quick shout outs to Reverie, Kariru, Gordon Ramsay, the speedrunner, not the chef, who did a retail Sonic 06 speedrun back in AGDQ 2021. That's really fun. You should go look that up. As well as Philip is Cold. They're kind of like the entire moderation team. But there's also other awesome runners like Hampter and 7 Chaos and Mayonnaise in the Toilet, which is a super funny username. But yeah. Anyway, hopping on into Radical Train here. What you saw me do in the menu before I entered the stage is I did something called disabling camera volumes. What that does is that 99% of the time, that is going to force the camera behind the character you're playing as, rather than having all these like cinematic camera events. That's useful here in Radical Train as it makes these sections a lot easier. Holding the Chaos Spear there, so we're going to hit that enemy. Thankfully, Shadow can... Oh, dang. Unfortunately, Radical Train being one of the most punishing stages in the game, along with Silver's Kingdom Valley, because if you mess up, you have to completely restart. But no big deal, it's a pretty short stage, so we're just going to jump right through here. Getting to talk a little bit about it here, what I'm doing is a Badnik bounce, 2 spear bounces in order to get over that invisible wall. And then, like I said, how you need to have 1 extra spear in order to do your homing attack refresh. I save the 3rd spear so I can fire it and change direction, and then doing a homing attack to bypass destroying the train the first time to speed stuff up. All right, doing it properly this time, just hitting that enemy right there and doing some spear bounces to get a little bit through the level a little bit quicker, and then doing a cage dash to avoid destroying the train there as we jump right into section 2. Now, if you noticed at the very end of section 1, I grabbed a gauge up capsule. That's because we are going to go into Chaos Boost again, which is pretty cool. And if you saw me skip Shadow's motorcycle, if you're a big fan of Shadow and the motorcycle, don't worry, there's one right down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to activate Chaos Boost before we go into the motorcycle. What that does, if you're in Chaos Boost in a vehicle, all of Shadow's vehicles have some sort of weapon attached to them, this being just a machine gun. And if you're in Chaos Boost, as a little nod to the game Shadow the Hedgehog that was released on the GameCube and I believe Xbox, it might have been just a GameCube game in 2005. While you're in Chaos Boost, you have infinite ammo, which allows us to destroy the train really fast there and complete Radical Train in under 1:20, which is pretty sweet stuff. But that's going to be it for disabling the camera volume. So if you're a fan of the cinematic camera angles that Chaos put into the game, I'm going to be turning them back on for the remainder of the run. Whoops, I think I accidentally turned off the cutscenes. Don't want to turn those off. Those are cool. But anyway, we've just got a few stages left in this run, this one being Aquatic Base. Like I said, the Tornado Kick is usually the answer to all of Shadow's combat, unless we're using uninhibited mode, and that's no truer anywhere other than here. You're going to be seeing me mashing the B button and basically obliterating all of these worms with Shadow's sick breakdancing moves as we just melt the health bars. These purple worms here, I should mention in Project 06, there are 3 different classes of enemies. There are the Eggman robots, which have all their own different varieties. There's the Iblis goons, which are the red enemies, and then the Mephiles goons, which are the purple enemies. The Mephiles goons are essentially souped up versions of the Iblis enemies. Since story-wise, they're supposed to be kind of the same creature, just set in, put in 2 different halves. And what Mephiles did is he enchanted some of Iblis's goons with some whatever magic he has. It's not really explained in the story. But those worms, those purple worms, have the largest health bars of any enemy in the game. And you could see with the Tornado Kick, we just melted them. Hopping into Chaos Boost here with Shadow, we're going to be seeing a few more of his abilities here. We're going to go to level 2 right here and use his Chaos Lance, which is a souped-up version of the Chaos Spear, and just obliterate all of these enemies in one hit. Going to be using a combination of Tornado Kick and Chaos Lance right there. Now, when you level up Chaos Boost, of course, you have the abilities of the level prior, so even though we're in level 2 Chaos Boost, we still have access to Chaos Snap should we need it. Now, what we're going to do, I do have the ability to go into uninhibited mode here, but I don't want to because as you level up Chaos Boost, the action gauge drains faster. So I'm actually going to hold level 3 Chaos Boost here for the very reason that I'm going to be activating uninhibited mode a little bit later as we head through the stage here. Doing some quick spin dashes through this hallway, and then what I'm going to do is use the final ability, Chaos Blast, which has been souped up from the original game, obliterating that entire wave of enemies right there. Super fun to use, and probably the only real use of Chaos Boost or of Chaos Blast in the speedrun, as it is. Does have quite a long animation, but when there are a lot of aerial enemies that the Tornado Kick can't take care of, we like to use Chaos Blast. Entering uninhibited mode here to completely decimate that final enemy room, and we get this cool little pose with Shadow in his uninhibited form in the results screen, which is pretty neat. I guess with a feature from a box. Oh, there it goes. Oh my goodness. Again, Shadow, the combat-focused character, doesn't mean he's slow. He's really fun to play as. Additionally to that, something that I didn't talk about in Silver and Shadow's aquatic base, in the story, they are sent to the past. And what happens is that in the past, they see Solaris, which is the entity that is broken in two into both Iblis and Mephiles. And Shadow is chasing Mephiles in aquatic base, while Silver is chasing Iblis. And that's actually represented in the lighting of the stage. If you go back, or if you download Project 06 yourself, and you see, and you go into aquatic base and look at them side by side, Silver's aquatic base has an orange hue to represent Iblis, and then Shadow's aquatic base has a purple hue to represent Mephiles. Again, the details, killer stuff, Chaos. You nailed it, man. But our final 1, 2, 3 hang glider section here, that is almost the last time we're going to be seeing Shadow's vehicles. The last time we're going to see the hang glider, and now we get to play as everyone's favorite Eggman Annihilator here, Omega. E123 Omega, to be exact. He was the most broken character in Retail 06 because there was no limits on his hover ability. And if you feathered the A button with his hover ability in Retail 06, you would not lose altitude. So you could literally just fly over any stage you played as him. A lot more balanced here, and in my opinion, a lot more fun to play as in Project 06 because he's gotten his melee attack. Or he has regained his melee attack from Sonic Heroes. So if you press the X button 3 times, you can do a 3-hit combo. Seeing Omega charge up his turrets there to try to destroy Mephiles. As Shadow, we're going to try to race to him to give him some backup. Again, using the Tornado Kick right here to completely decimate those Mephiles Titans. I think they're called like Chaos Titans is what they're called in the code. But in terms of practicality, they're called Chaos Titans, or Mephiles Titans, I should say. The purple guys, that's what they are.
The purple guys is fine, for sure.
Again, the Tornado Kick just absolutely decimating them. And just doing a little bit of platforming here in the end of Wave Ocean. And I wanted to say, Smooth Operative, here you go. Shadow's Wave Ocean is set at sunset. I hope it looks as beautiful as I hyped it up to be. I'm a personal fan of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said it does. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a personal fan of the sunrise myself, but I gotta say that the sunset looks quite beautiful as well. If you saw right there, like how we had a named purple guy back in Silver's story, I called him Bill. His cousin Dave was standing on that island right there. We decided to name him in chat because we use him to badnik bounce and skip a little bit of automation. In our final hover car section here, we're just going to run right into the goal ring, and if I hit it just right, dang, we didn't see it. If you hit the goal ring just right with the hover car, you can actually see it in the results screen. It'll just like ram itself right into Shadow.
Oh my gosh.
Which is...
I can imagine.
It's pretty funny. In earlier releases, the hover car used to still go, so it would like just run in circles around the results screen. But Chaos decided that was a little bit too much fun for the hover car to have. So
that's pretty good.
But hopping into Dusty Desert, our final full-length stage in this All Stories Beat speedrun. I can't believe we're almost done. But we're using the hover car one more time. Thank goodness for Chaos X on this one. Normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go through a bunch of pillars around all of the open section of Dusty Desert, and that lets you into the temple here, which is section B that we saw with Silver. But thankfully, Chaos X put the trigger to open the door right where the door opens. So thankfully, ignore that. That didn't happen. Thankfully, we're able to just go straight to the door and not have to go around. That didn't happen either. My goodness, can you tell it's the end of the run?
I was going to ask, how are you feeling now that you're closing in on the end of this run?
I am feeling fantastic. It's definitely not 80 degrees in here, and I am not sweating my butt off as I finish up Project 06. But regardless, we're doing a quick tornado kick here. Again, if there's a combat encounter on the ground, the solution is the tornado kick for Shadow. And we're just going to jump right through this hallway here and then see more of E123 Omega. I didn't get to quite finish his moveset. What you see right here is Gatling gun mode. That isn't just a cutscene only ability, as we saw him when he was facing off against Mephiles. You can actually use it in gameplay if you press the Y button. And he has a limited amount of ammunition that you can recharge with the energy cores you get from enemies. But what we're doing is a little bit of an optimization there. I use the Gatling guns to hit that switch. But unfortunately, there are invisible walls, so we can't just hover to the other side of that room. We still have to go through Omega's combat encounters. As you're seeing, he's very good at combat with his little, I call it the pea shooter because of the sound it makes, but it essentially works like the blasters from Sonic Adventure 2 that Tails and Eggman have. You lock onto enemies up to 5, I believe, and then let go, and it shoots a projectile that does 1 damage into the enemies. Very good for making quick work. Yeah, very good for making quick work of those single hit point enemies, which is very nice. Going to be seeing some more of Gatling gun mode here as we absolutely destroy this entire enemy room. We go right, then we go left. These worms do not stand a chance. They don't even notice that Omega's here. As we just safely destroy them from a distance as fast as we possibly can. Going into the end of Omega section, we're just going to hop right through this door, do a quick jump, and then fall right into the switch here. Finishing back off with Shadow, we're going to do a quick jump to the left here, Badnik bounce, and then land on this platform. Quick spin dash jump, hit this one up, because obviously, as you can tell, I don't have enough lives. I just need one more. And then again, solution to the combat is the tornado kick. We're just going to tornado kick on all of these enemies here, and then head through to the end of Shadow's Dusty Desert. As we zoom, totally don't get hit by the spikes there. These these things are pretty notorious in terms of my speed runs. These tubes that I'm spin dashing on right now, they do have a bit of wonky collision, kind of like White Acropolis Section 1. So sometimes you can just fly off or go where you're not supposed to go for whatever reason. But thankfully, we were able to just finish up Dusty Desert right there, seeing the foreboding purple aura as Mephiles is right behind that door, ready for Shadow to defeat in the next release of Sonic Project 06. Again, we only have the stages available to us, but the ultimate stage, I should say, for this speedrun is Rouge's Tropical Jungle. It is yet another key hunt, but thankfully, we don't have to search for 3 keys this time, just 2, because the 3rd key is always in the same spot, which is really nice. So we're just going to fly around here. Something that I didn't talk about in terms of Rouge's moveset is she does have bombs, which aren't that useful in the speedrun, but if you play the P06 randomizer, this game does have mods associated with it. Oh, excuse me, sorry. It's very, very useful there. As Rouge, even with her martial arts, can't take care of aerial enemies very well. At least aerial enemies with lots of hit points, so her bomb abilities are really nice. When you download Project 06, there's actually a game manual that explains all of these abilities, so if my explanation maybe didn't make a whole lot of sense, I definitely recommend checking out the game manual if you download the game. Chaos put a lot of effort into it to make it super cool looking. But
I was going to say, that's a nice touch too, like the game manual. Like, can you ask for more? Like, wow.
Yeah, he loves working on this project. This man has put an insane amount of work into it. There are other people, like I mentioned, SonicBox. Another big contributor, especially to early demos, is Beats, YT3, who's also in charge of the mod loader and created the randomizer that I just mentioned. He's very cool as well, and I'll go ahead and show the credits as we get out of Tropical Jungle here. Oh, I should say that's time. My apologies.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, blink and you'll miss it. That was it. That was all 28 main stages of Project 06. But I'm going to go ahead and show the credits here real quick. There is
Sure,
some
yeah.
extra stuff if chat or if you guys are interested. But if not, thank you all for having me on. I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, I mean, Stelmo, it's kind of whatever you're in the mood for. Like, if you feel like you want to show us a little something extra on the 4th of July, you're more than welcome to.
I think I could make that work. Do you guys want to see more of this game?
Yeah, what do you got planned for us?
Let me know. I see. I'm looking at chat right now. So if I see at least one typed in chat, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and do it. Thank you for the GGs, everybody. Wow, what an insane run. I don't know if you can see it on screen, but I am sweating buckets right now.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, Richard. With the
Let's
one.
go, Richard.
So what I'm going to show off is that there's actually a test stage that you can access in Sonic Project 06, which is pretty cool stuff. You can mess around if you want to play like as some of the amigos that you didn't get to play as very often, like Amy here. You can actually switch to her if you so desire and mess around in the test stage. There are a couple different sections. But I'm going to switch to Blaze here and actually grab some speed shoes because where we're headed is section B of the test stage. There are 2 little Easter egg stages that Chaos put in Project 06, and I won't spoil them until we get to them. They're pretty short, so it'll probably be 5 to 10 minutes or so. So if you got to go to bed, I know in the States it is quite late, so I don't blame you at all. But
It's only 10 p.m. for me.
it is the next day. Happy July 5th, everybody. I'm out of attire. Old news.
Time
now.
to take off the hat.
All right, guys. Can I do that? I don't know about that. But anyway, if we take this transport mirror into the in the test stage, we actually get to play the Xbox Live Arcade version of Kingdom Valley. So I mentioned during the run that both that there was an Xbox Live Arcade version of Kingdom Valley. There also was an E3 version of Kingdom Valley, but it was pretty much the same as this one. So there was no reason to add both into the game. Additionally, there is an E3 stage that we get to play as well with a different character. So if you guys want to see that as well, I'm happy to show that off. But we're just going to end off real quick right here. Pretty similar to how the finished section 1 is. But I figured I might as well show it off as a cool little extra because who doesn't love more Project 06?
I mean, it's just so rich with things and features, and it's really cool to see this come together.
Oh, yeah. I guess I'll go ahead. Since we're at it, I'll show off the last stage as well here. Again, we have to head to Section B. But yeah, again, one more shout out to Chaos X. Dude is insane. He's been working on this game since 2017. The first demo was released in 2019, and it has come such a long way. He, as a game developer, as well as Project 06 itself, I look so forward to the next release, which is going to contain the last story and all of the bosses for every character. And man, this dude just knocks it out of the park and blows away expectations every single time. I couldn't be happier to be part of this community. So shout outs to Chaos X and everyone who's worked on Project 06, and shout out to the community as well one more time. It's just, this game is so much fun. Anyway, showing off the Sky Gem. I didn't lie. We are going to be seeing it. Whoopsie daisy. Didn't aim it quite right there. But again, like I said, it's an Ender Pearl, but you actually travel the distance you throw it. So I aim the Sky Gem and I throw it and, just barely miss it. Third time's the charm, right? I think. Just go ahead and charge up the Sky Gem. Again, this ability is called the Gun Drive, which I think is a pretty sweet name for a ability. As we go right into the mirror. Very nice. This transport mirror takes us to the E3 version of Silver's Crisis City. The only time you can play as Silver in Crisis City, at least in the vanilla game, in daytime. So if you like daytime Crisis City, here you go. Another thing is that this is the only stage where we can see Eggman's mechs in the future. Again, this was just a demo. They didn't have, the enemies finalized and everything. So we're just going to pop ESP mode real quick here and just hop right into the goal ring. Just like that. And unless we want to show off some glitches and stuff, I'd say that's pretty much everything I wanted to show off for you guys. All right, great.
Sure, Stelmo. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you. Wait, Richard, did you say something? Oh, okay. You know what? I was going to ask you, Stelmo, if you had a like streaming schedule, like where and when can our viewers expect you?
Yeah, absolutely. I am live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. CST over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Stelmo98. So 9 hours from now, I will be live. So wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter. So if you like Project 06, you like my goofy self, that's what I'm doing pretty much every single day. I will say I won't be streaming on Friday because I am going to the Taylor Swift concert, but normally it's every Monday through Friday. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Really, it was a blast doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Stelmo. This was a lot of fun to see, and I'm honestly kind of curious to check out Project 06 myself. So maybe I'll download it.
Yeah, again, you can just head over Chaos X Project 06. All you got to type into Google or YouTube or wherever, gonna probably be the first thing that pops up.
Perfect. Well, if you are watching this on YouTube from the future, make sure to press the like button on this video. If you had fun with us, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And why not come visit us at twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you are interested in checking out our shows live. We start weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. But that is going to wrap up tonight's episode of Time Capsule. I have been your host, Smooth Operative. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions about Time Capsule or Hotfix, you can always find me on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/SmoothOperative, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. But tune in tomorrow for How to Train a Speedrunner, followed by Speedruns from the Crypt. That all starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you all again much sooner than expected for another episode of Time Capsule in 1 week, next Tuesday, 10 p.m. as part of Week Velocity on Hotfix after the show Random Number Generation. So until then, have a beautiful day or night, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being here. Goodbye.
See you later.